Camera. Hello. The sound is visible.
Yes, sir.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Anil
sir.
sir, we will start within 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes.
No issue, sir. No issue. I am ready with the presentation. No issue. You can start with that.
Anil sir, can we start now?
Yes, we can.
Good evening all, good noon. So welcome on behalf of WRC PD committee and CPD committee. I CMA Ashish Bhavsar and CMA Vinayak Gulkarni. I welcome you all on today's our webinar on GST registration and return filing. To guide us on this topic with us, expert of GST Anil Vermaji. Anil Vermaji is a practicing cost accountant and holding all the 3 professional degrees. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, associate member of the Chartered Accountant of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, and qualified company secretary. He is currently chairman of Nagpur chapter of the Institute of Cost Accountant of India, and previously he was a vice chairman, secretary, and treasurer and executive committee member of Nagpur chapter. Currently, he is also a member of WRC editorial board. He has been vast experience in direct and indirect taxation. Pre-GST, he is also he is expertise in VAT and all that, and he's very dynamic personality, taking lectures for at various known institutes at Nagpur chapter, as well as other management institute and training institute at Nagpur. So on behalf of WRC, Anil sir, I welcome you for this today's webinar, and I'm very much thankful to you for sparing time within a short notice of 1 day. So with your expertise knowledge in GST, the participant will get the better knowledge of registration as well as return filings under GST. So I request you to take over the session and guide the participant for the GST registration as well as return filing. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ashish Bhausar, sir. First of all, I'm very honored to be here with this platform, and I'm also thankful to WRC Chairman Shriram Mahakaliwal, sir, Vice Chairman Vinayak Kulkarni, sir, Secretary Ashish Bhausar, sir, as well as the Treasurer Chaitanya Mohril, sir, for giving me an opportunity to present the GST sessions with respect to the registration as well as the GST return filing and its process before you. So it's being an honor for me, and I will start my presentation. I have shared the presentation. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Today's topic is, as Ashish sir already said, you and all of us know that we are here to have a learning on the GST from the registration till the return filings. But before starting the registration, I would like to add something regarding the basics of the GST so that we can understand that which kind of procedure, what is to be required, which kind of assessee, and what are the kind of definitions which are required to be known to all of us before having the registration to the assessee as well as return filing to the assessee. So before that one, I will give some snapshot about the basics of the GST. So first of all, we'll check out that what do you mean by GST. All of us know about it, the meaning of the GST. It means nothing but it is nothing but a indirect kind of tax where the central as well as a states kind of taxes are already being subsumed under the GST. What happened in GST is that basic principle of GST is that it is a destination based tax, and the destination based tax is on the consumption of goods as well as services. So when we are talking about when the levy of the GST will be accrued, when the levy of the GST will be starting point under the provisions of the GST, then we can say that the starting for the point for the GST would be the taxable event. So what is taxable event? We should understand. The taxable event is nothing but a supply. So in GST, there is only one word, and everybody has to know that the word is nothing but a supply, and supply is related to the goods as well as services. There are various benefits after the commencement of the GST with effect from 1st July, and the benefits are known to everybody regarding the reduction of the taxes, mitigation of the cascading effect, double taxation effect, which was earlier in the excise form. So this kind of cascading effect has been reduced, where there was VAT and there was excise. When the manufactured product has been sold by the manufactured person, at that time, excise duty was levied, and over that excise duty, VAT was also levied. Therefore, the concept of GST is came into account by the government of India, and it makes easy for doing the business by way of mitigating the cascading as well as double taxation effect. More efficient process. It developed the national market, and it is a simple tax design and have a kind of rates of taxes, but the rate of taxes are very few, from 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%, as well as there are a lot of exemptions are available under the provisions of the law. There are certain commodity which are not coming under the GST preview, the commodities are alcoholic product, alcoholic liquor product, as well as petroleum products. Both the products are outside the GST preview, therefore they are coming under the non-GST part. So alcoholic liquor and petroleum, the VAT is applicable for both the products. GST is not applicable right now. What is important in the GST is that before starting the registration process, we should understand certain definitions under the provisions of the law, and the definitions should be related to the certain part, and that part is nothing but you should know the definition of person, we should know the definition of goods. So everybody has to know that who is those people, who are those person under the provisions of the law to whom the GST is applicable. So if I'm talking about the person, as the person definition which is applicable under the provisions of the income tax law, the same definition is also available in the GST. So person is not differently defined. Person is nothing but a person who is already been a person under the definition of income tax law. So person means a person who carries out any business at any place of India, any place in India, and he is the same as defined under the provisions of the income tax law. What happened in earlier time in the excise or service tax, in the definition of person, central government as well as state government was not there. Now under the provisions of the GST, person definition included both central government as well as state government. So in person, if in short form I can define as a person for the registration is nothing but a person in the form of individual, HUF, association of person, body of individual, local authority, partnership firm, company, including the foreign company. These are the people who are required to get the registration under the provisions of the law because they are coming under the definition of the person. So when person is required to take the registration, which I should know that for which the supply has to be made. Supply is already, we have discussed about that one. Supply should be related to the goods as well as services. So we should know that what do you mean by goods? Is all kind of goods are coming under the definition of the levy of GST? The answer is no. Goods should be properly defined, and we should know that what is good. So goods is defined under the provisions of the GST. The definition of goods is almost same as which was defined earlier under the central sales tax, CST and VAT. So what goods was earlier is nothing but the goods here. Only the slight change is there with respect to the money and security. I will read it out. What do you mean by goods? It means every kind of movable property other than money and securities, but it includes the actionable claim, growing crops, grass, and things, and which are attached to or forming part of the land, which are agreed to be severed before the supply or under the contract of supply. What happened? Goods means nothing but, in short form, in GST is nothing but every kind of movable property. Every kind of movable property which is going to be transferred in case of bus contract also. If the property is transferred at a site, then we can say that yes, GST will be applicable at a site on the definition of goods, but that particular definition may come under the services also. So we should see along with the goods, what do you mean by services? So goods is nothing but every kind of movable property other than money and securities. Money and securities are not leviable for the GST. Therefore, they are excluded from the definition of the goods, but it includes the actionable claim. These are those claims which are forming part of the immovable property, which is related to the Transfer of Property Act 1982. So all the kind of actionable claims which are there may also be included under the definition of the goods. Then we can say, what do you mean by services? It means anything other than the goods. What is not coming under the definition of goods is coming under the services. So it means anything other than the goods, money and security, but includes activity relating to the use of the money or its conversion to cash. So what happens in kind of services? Some volume is there. It is requested to kindly
ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಹೋದಾಗ ಅದೇ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಂಡೋಗ್ತಿದೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ, ಲಿಂಕ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ.
Some background voice is there. It is requested
all to mute the mic.
ಲಿಂಕ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಪೇ ನೌ ಅಂತ ಬಂತು, ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಒಂದು 10 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ, ಆ ಚಲನ್ ತೋರಿಸ್ತು.
So when we are defining the definition for the services is nothing but the anything which is coming other than the goods, money and security. It includes those activity which are related to the money and conversion of cash in kind. What happened if I am taking the example of the banking services? All the banking services are coming under the definition of the services. So any services provided by the bank, like DD charges, maybe other financial services, they are coming under the definition of services, and GST is ultimately levied on that part. So we should know that there are three parts. One is supply, and supply should be related to the goods as well as services. So taxable event is arise when the event will be arise at the time when there is a kind of event with respect to the supply in the form of outward supply, maybe in the form of inward supply with respect to the goods as well as services. There is one concept, and that one concept was very different, which was not earlier in the pre-GST regime, and that concept is nothing but business vertical. It is not successful form of concept, business vertical. The vertical of the business is nothing but where there are the kind of branches. If the company is there, manufacturing company, and having a different kind of branches of that company, for example, company A and having a branches of T1, T2, T3. So company is taking the registration in its name, and other branches of the company in the form of T1, T2, T3 is also taking the registration. Then the concept of business vertical is coming. Provided what happened if the company A is having a different product and the other branches of the company is having a different product of manufacturing, where there is involvement of a different kind of risks as well as return is there, then the business vertical come into picture, and every kind of that branches as well as that kind of manufacturing company is required to take the registration under the provisions of the law. But this kind of business vertical concept may have a more cost, rather it has a more kind of compliances, because if I am taking a registration for each and every vertical, each and every kind of branches from the point of view of GST registration is to be concerned, then I will have to comply for the return filing process and other process, preparation of trial balance, preparation of balance sheet for each of the branches. So it may cost more. So as far as the financial part of the company is to be concerned, it is better to take the business vertical registration only if it is analyzed properly by the SEC in the form of cost, as well as from the point of view of a kind of risk as well as return is to be concerned. We should know that what we mean by the capital goods, because what happened if I'm taking the input tax credit while filing the return of GST, I should know that what is capital goods. So yes, input tax credit is available, but we should know that what is input and what is the input of the goods and what is the input of the kind of services, and in that part what is the input related to the capital goods. It means basically capital goods nothing but those goods which are capitalized in the books of accounts in our balance sheet in the form of fixed assets. See, so if I'm purchasing the furniture, if I'm purchasing the plant and machinery, if I'm purchasing the any truck or maybe big vehicles, so the input tax credit cannot be denied by the assessing officer, it would be available. So I should know that what do you mean by the capital goods. E-commerce operator is the new concept which has been came into account in the GST itself. It was not meant in the old GST or pre-GST regime, and it is very important to understand the e-commerce operator and the return filing process for the operator. For example, is there Amazon, Ola, the people who are operating their businesses in the electronic facility or electronic platform is called as e-commerce operator. We should understand the point related to the output tax and input tax. The reason behind to understand about the output tax and input tax is that with respect to the filing of the GST return, we should know that what is the liability of the SEC while filing the returns. So what do you mean by output tax? So it means it is related to the, basically it is related to the taxable person. I'm quoting the word as a taxable person. Person is there. I should know that whether that person is a taxable or maybe exempt, whether that person is coming under the preview of the GST design by taking the registration or maybe completely exempt by particular notifications from the government from time to time, or by way of any trade circular where the exemption has been granted by the government of India. So I should know that the person should be the taxable person. That means he should be the registered person. He should be the registered person. He should not be the unregistered person. So in relation to the taxable person, it means the output tax means nothing but it is a IGST, CGST, HGST, integrated GST, central GST, and state GST, which is chargeable under the provisions of the law, and it is chargeable on the taxable supply. The supply should be the taxable. Supply should not be exempt. Supply should be the taxable with respect to the goods as well as services made by the person or by his agent. It is whether the person is making himself or through any other person by the principle of the principal and agency relationship in the agreement of the agency in between the principal and agent through the contract in between both the people. So the whatever the supply has been made by those people is also coming under the definition of the output tax, and it exclude the tax payable by that taxable person. On him the reverse charge is applicable. Basically what happened, output tax is other than the reverse charge. It is a tax on the supply of the goods as well as services, and supply should be in the form of output, not in the form of input. So it is nothing but a sale. So if I'm making the sale, I'm making turnover in my books of accounts, so I will have to levy the tax in the invoices, and I'm making the outward supply to the other person, and accordingly after making the invoices, the tax is levied in the form of IGST, CGST, HGST. What is the tax which has been levied in the invoice is nothing but a output tax, but it should not be related to the reverse charge, because reverse charge is a different kind of tax which is required to be paid by the recipient. We will see later one about that one. So input tax is there, another one. This is output tax, and other one is input tax. If I'm talking about the input tax, it is related to the input of the services, input of the goods. It is nothing but a tax on purchases, in simple form, tax on purchases. So tax is same as it is applicable for output tax. Tax is IGST, CGST, HGST. There is also another tax, that is union territory tax, as well as the sales is also there if it is applicable to the assessee, if that kind of product is available. So I should know output tax as well as input tax for the calculation purpose while filing the GST return. Then for the purpose of registration, I should know that what do you mean by the turnover? Because what happened while taking the registration by the assessee, by the person, under the definition of person of the GST, if the turnover of that particular person exceeds by that particular amount or threshold limit, then the registration is required, otherwise registration is not required. So what happened, I should know that what is turnover and what is aggregate turnover, whether it is the turnover for single PAN, whether it is a turnover for all India PAN basis. So I should know that what do you mean by turnover. Basically what happened, if I am talking about the turnover, it is nothing but a sale value. Sale value may be in the form of taxable sale, maybe in the form of nil value sale, maybe non-taxable sale, maybe in the form of export sale. Aggregate of sale includes everything, whether it is taxable sale or non-taxable sale. Therefore, the aggregate turnover, I should know that it means the value of all taxable, non-taxable, exempt supplies, as well as export of the goods or services having the same PAN number in India. If the person is having the same PAN number in all over India and having a kind of different kind of branches, if we are having an office at Mumbai and having a branches at Chhattisgarh as well as in Delhi, then I should take my PAN number, because what happened in the process of taking the registration under the provisions of the GST, we should know that what is the turnover on PAN basis. So PAN is same for all. PAN would not be different. So accordingly, I will have to take the registration if that particular limit for that particular PAN exceeds. Therefore, the aggregate turnover which includes is nothing but all taxable, non-taxable, exempt supply on all India basis. It is not necessary that if I'm having a different kind of branches, I should take the turnover of that particular branch. But initially, I should consider the aggregate turnover on all India basis. If I'm having different branches, I will have to consolidate that turnover, and accordingly, I will have to submit the documents and to prefer for the registration, to prefer for the return filing process. Another part regarding the aggregate turnover would be that whether I am liable to file the annual return, that is GSTR 9, whether I am liable to file the annual return or not may also be considered through the your aggregate turnover, that is turnover of that particular PAN number. If it exceeds, then you are exceeds to the particular limit, then you are liable for GSTR 9. Otherwise, exemption has been granted under the provisions of the law. However, the taxes are charged under the provisions of the GST, HGST, CGST, IGST will have to be deducted for arriving the aggregate turnover. What happened? Aggregate turnover is nothing but a net of tax. That means it is a taxable turnover as well as non-taxable turnover, exempt turnover. But whatever the value is arise, that value should be after a deduction of the taxes in the form of HGST, CGST, IGST. Then the concept of reverse charge is very important, because what happened while filing the returns, there is a one column under the GSTR 3B, and that column is related to the reverse charge. Whether the reverse charge is applicable to you, then you will have to discharge the payment by way of making the payment through the cash ledger, and this is applicable to those persons who are being a recipient of goods and services from the unregistered person. If I am a registered person and taking the services from the unregistered person, in that case I will have to pay the tax on the behalf of the unregistered person. So right now, initially when GST came into account with the effect from 1st July and till the time of 15th till the time of 13th October, I remember the date, till the time of 13th October 2017, the reverse charge was applicable almost on all the kind of expenditure. It was applicable on all the kind of payments, all the kind of expenditure that registered person is going to incur for that one. After 13 October 2017, the reverse charge part has been amended under section 9, 4 and 5.4, and it is restricted to certain part of the kind of services where the reverse charge is applicable. Right now there are 15 to 17 services on which the reverse charge is applicable. So what happened while filing the GST returns? The reverse charge concept is very important. Basically, the reverse charge is opposite to the forward charge. We should understand the forward charge. In normal cases, when I am making the payment of tax, I am making the payment of tax on the collection of the tax from the other person, and making the payment of tax is nothing but a forward charge. And if I am making the payment of tax on the behalf of the other person, because other person I should see that what is the list of the reverse charge, and accordingly, if I'm coming under that category, then I will have to pay the tax under the provisions of the reverse charge from cash ledger. And here my working capital will be struck off for the period of, at least for the period of 30 days, maybe 45 days. However, the credit for the reverse charge payment is available, provided you should prepare your self supply bill or invoice. After that, you will get the credit. And second part, not only to prepare the self bill, you should declare your reverse charge liability as well as your reverse charge input with respect to the filing of GSTR 3B as well as filing of GSTR 1. Seen that it is a federal tax basically. We should know that where the GST is not applicable, there are some certain exemptions like agriculture product, where the agriculture list is basically excluded from the definition of the GST. If there is a supply of the land and the person is involved and that in the same kind of activity, then on the sale of land, GST is not applicable. On agriculture product, GST is not applicable. However, in case of agriculture product, either there is a supply of the cotton, then it is coming under the reverse charge mechanism, and the person who is recipient of the kind of goods and being a registered person is required to pay the GST on the behalf of that agriculture person. This is very important, that what is the limit where the person is required to take the registration. You will see that one limit is 40 lakhs for the goods and 20 lakhs for the services. If the person is liable under the RCM, the limit is not applicable. The person is straight away is required to take the registration under the GST. There is a scheme under the provisions of the law. The scheme is a composition scheme. A registered dealer whose previous year turnover is less than 150 lakhs. Initially, the composition scheme was, when the GST was there, it has been started from 50 lakhs, then it has been, the limit has been enhanced to 75 lakhs, then again to 1 crore, and then limit is again enhanced to 150 lakhs. And now the limit at present for composition dealer or the composition taxpayer, the limit for taking the registration under the composition is 150 lakhs. If I am having a turnover of rupees 50 lakhs, say the example, then I can take, and I am a dealer of the retail traders, or I am the dealer of the certain commodities, then I can take the registration under the composition scheme and how to pay the tax at the rate of 1% only. However, there is composition scheme is also available for the services, and the value of service, if it is less than 50 lakhs, then composition is also applicable for the value of services. In that case, the dealer, in that case, the service person is required to pay the tax at the rate of 6%. So composition rate applicable for the GST is 1% in case of manufacturer and retail traders, and in case of service provider, if the value of the services is less than 50 lakhs, in that case, the GST rate is 6%. What happened here, if the person is a composition coming under the composition scheme, he has to file the return under the composition scheme. There is a separate form of composition return, CMP08 form is there, and he has to file very simple form of return. He has to mention nothing. But there are certain restrictions for the composition person. The supply should be within the state only. He cannot make the supply outside the state of Maharashtra. For example, if I am taking the state of Maharashtra, example of the state of Maharashtra, and I am making the supply to the outside the state of Maharashtra, immediately I am coming under the coming under the normal scheme, not under the composition scheme. However, if I am making the supply within the state and my turnover is less than 150 lakhs, then yes, I will be under the provisions of the composition scheme, but I am not allowed to make the supply outside the state of that particular state or outside the state of Maharashtra. So certain restrictions are there. Who is not eligible for the composition is nothing but a supplier of the services other than the supplier of the restaurant services. So those services which are other than the restaurant services are not eligible to come under the compositions. There are certain supplier of the goods not liable to pay the GST, like petroleum products. We have already been seen that, and the person who are under the liquor dealer, those people who are coming under the petroleum product and liquor dealer persons, they are not coming under the composition scheme. The person making the interstate supply outside the preview of the composition scheme, person supplying the goods to the electronic commerce operator. If I am an electronic commerce operator, from first day itself, I will have to take the registration. Limit of the registration will not make any effect. And also, if I am an e-commerce operator, I am not eligible for the composition scheme. For example, also further, with respect to the ice cream parlor, tobacco dealer, pan masala dealer, these people are also not coming under the scheme of the composition. In short, what happened here? The composition people are those people only who are under the category of manufacturing, retail traders, wholesalers. In case of service category, if the value of services is less than 50 lakhs, those people having turnover less than 150 lakhs, and excluding these, petrol, diesel, this is not coming under the GST itself, therefore it is not coming under the composition. Ice cream parlor, tobacco dealer, they are not coming under the composition scheme. They will have to opt for the regular scheme, normal scheme, and they are outside the preview of the composition scheme. Composition we have already discussed. Manufacturer traders 1%, 0.5 HGST, CGST. As there is no IGST in the composition scheme, therefore only HGST and CGST would be applicable. Canteen, restaurant 5%, 2.5, 2.5 CGST, HGST. If the dealer has business in other state, then he will have to opt for the composition in all the state. He may have a business in other state. Accordingly, he will have to take the composition scheme. The composition dealer cannot collect the tax. This is very important. It has been seen in all over India, certain people who are being under the composition scheme, still charging the GST and taking the advantage of the collecting the GST but not making the payment of GST to the government treasury. So this is a very tricky part, a very important part from the point of view of lapses of taxes is to be concerned for the government. So proper watch is required for the people who are being composition and collecting the taxes. However, they are not required to collect the tax and pay the tax from their own pocket. This is very important. Composition dealer is required to pay the taxes from their own pocket. They cannot charge. For example, if there is a builder who is under the composition scheme at the rate of 1% or 5% as per the scheme is applicable, he cannot charge any tax or collect the tax from the other person. However, they are collecting and charging. You can report to the department and accordingly the strict action can be taken by the department. So we should know that the composition person cannot collect the tax. No input tax credit is available to the person. Once as he is paying his taxes at the rate of 1% or 5% as the case may be, therefore input tax credit is not available because already the concessional rate is leviable on outward supply. So how ITC would be available to the composition person? Therefore, in straight away, no input tax credit is available for the composition dealer. Once the composition person cross the limit of 150 lakhs, from next day itself, the person is coming under the normal dealer, normal person, or under the normal scheme. Once it crosses the limit of the turnover of 150 lakhs. However, there is a input tax credit. What has been there with respect to the input of the services, the calculation has been made separately and accordingly, one forms of the ITC has to be filled by the assessor. There is a concept of the composite supply. If I'm talking about the composite supply, it is the supply of the works contract. Basically, we can take the example of the works contract, where there is a supply of services and there is a supply of goods, and both the goods and services cannot be taken as separately. They are taken completely as a single product. In that case, I will straight away say that yes, it is a composite supply. So if the supply of goods with respect to the particular goods supply has been made and there is a packing of the material, transportation charges, insurance charges, and all these are coming under the single bill or invoice, in that case, that particular supply is called as a composite supply. Mixed supply is also there, a different kind of product with a different kind of GST, where the highest rate of GST is applicable. In that case, that supply is taken as a mixed supply. It is very dangerous basically. Initially, it was very famous, and after coming into the GST part, it has been seen that it is applicable to the highest rate of GST. So if my product is 90% of my product is at 12%, and the 10% of product is coming under the 18%, then whole supply is considered as 18% of GST. This is very dangerous. Therefore, mixed supply concept was not so popular, and it has been not taken by the people, and accordingly the people are just taking the cost for the mixed supply with respect to the GST is very high. Then coming to our part, GST registration. We will see comprehensively for the registration of the GST. We will see the first rules for the GST registration. We have seen that what is the taxable event. Once taxable events start, I will have to take the registration. Taxable event under the GST is the supply of goods and services. And if in case of goods, the aggregate turnover, we know that what is aggregate turnover. We have just seen the definition of the aggregate turnover. The turnover with respect to the taxable, non-taxable, exempt, that turnover of that particular goods exceeds rupees 40 lakhs, then yes, I will have to take the registration of the GST. So in case of goods, supply of goods, aggregate turnover exceeding 40 lakhs, I will have to compulsory required to take the registration. So if I'm talking about the GST registration, there are basically three parts. One part is the voluntary registration, another part is a compulsory registration, and another part is no registration. So we will see here that voluntary registration as well as compulsory registration. First, we will check out the threshold limit for the registration. That threshold limit is 40 lakhs in case of goods, and in case of services it is 20 lakhs. In other state, special category of state are there. So if the aggregate turnover is more than 20 lakhs, in that case they will have to take the registration. Aggregate turnover is already we have defined, but still it is in the form of taxable supply, exempt, export, interstate supply. Taxable supply does not include the alcoholic liquor for the main consumptions. The other part, that is which is not coming under the GST preview, like alcoholic liquor as well as petrol, diesel, this part also not coming under the provisions of the aggregate turnover. Specific exclusion is already being given with respect to the RCM. We know that in case of aggregate turnover, the supply with respect to the RCM is excluded if it is included. If it is not included, then keep it aside. We don't have to mix it in the turnover. Aggregate turnover in case of supply of services 20 lakhs, and in the special category of state, if it exceeds rupees 10 lakhs, in case of service, the person is required. Person in the definition of person under the provisions of the GST is required to take the registration compulsorily. So both the limits of 40 lakhs, 20 lakhs are there where the person is required to take the registration compulsorily. The basic rule for the GST registration. What is the rule? Rule is nothing but registration is required in the state from which he makes the taxable supply. So that particular state of jurisdiction is very important. If I'm making supply from the state of Maharashtra, I will have to take the registration in the state of Maharashtra. If I'm making the supply from the other state, then I will have to take the registration from that particular state. And we have seen that GST is nothing but a destination-based tax. So if my destination is a particular state, I will have to take as a origin of the state and take the registration accordingly. For example, in Maharashtra, if I am taking the registration, my state code is 27. So according to my registration allotment made by the department, the state code, as per state code, 27 is a state code for me. So origin of state can be seen that from that particular state. So I will have to take the registration as per that particular state code. Person registered or licensed under erstwhile law on day immediately preceding the appointed date. What happened? The person is required to take the registration within the prescribed time limit. That is, if the particular turnover limit exceeds for 40 lakhs in case of goods or 20 lakhs in case of services, then in that case, it is required for the person to take the registration within 30 days of time. There are certain cases where registration is required in case of transfer of business. Transferee is required to obtain the registration in case of sale, in case of succession of the business, in case of amalgamation, demerger. These are the cases where the people are required to take the registration. Compulsory registration, if I am taking the part, these are those people who are compulsorily required to take the registration. They are not escaped from the registration. The person, if making interstate supply from one state to another state, immediately he has to take the registration, and then after taking the registration, he is eligible to take the supply of goods or services from one state to another state. Otherwise, he is not eligible for the making the interstate supply. So for capping of these interstate supply, person is required to take the compulsory registration. There are other persons also. Casual taxable person are those people whose place of business or establishment in India is in casual way. It is not a permanent way. They are coming for a particular period of time in seasonal time, and they are going outside of India. They are coming from outside of India, living here, making supply of goods or services, or maybe those people who are coming to the state from another state, making supply of goods and services for a particular period of time, and after selling those goods or services, they are leaving the state. In that case, there are the people who are in the form of casual taxable person. They are required to take the registration, and the limit of taking registration is within 5 days basically after coming here. There are certain persons taxable under the reverse charge basis. Compulsory registration is required in case of reverse charge. There are certain assessors who are in the form of non-resident taxable person. If they are coming from the outside of India, they also require to take the compulsory registration within the period of 5 days. There are certain persons who require to deduct the TDS, TCS under the provisions of the GST, in that case, they also require to take the compulsory registration. Basically, what happened? These persons are nothing but a government entity or those entity where there is a stake of the government, maybe central government, maybe state government, maybe local authority, maybe gram panchayat, maybe PSU sectors are also be there. So these persons who are under the particular definition where the provisions of the TDS and TCS is applicable are also required to take the compulsory registration from first day. When the provision is applicable, they will have to take the registration. There is a concept of the input service distributor. There is a concept that there is a head office of the particular person, and from that head office, he has also having a branch offices. And in case of input tax credit, the head office is taking the credit and making distribution of that input tax credit to the branches. So in that case, the input service distributor who is having accumulation of the ITC at head office and making the distributions of that particular ITC to the branches. Now what happened? This input service distributor is compulsory required to take the registration under the provisions of the GST. Otherwise, that particular input which is available in head office, maybe in the branches, cannot be available for distributions under the provisions of the law. There are certain persons who are making the sale on the behalf of the someone else, whether they are agent or in the relationship of agency, principal and agent, like carrying and forwarding agent, like consignee agent. These are the people who are doing the work on the behalf of the principal. They are carrying their business. Basically, in pharma industry, those people are coming under the CNF agent and maybe consignee agent. In that case, those people are compulsory required to take the registration so that they can take the input tax credit, whatever the invoice has been charged for the kind of services of the CNF or maybe consignment. So these persons are those people who are compulsory required to take the registration. Every e-commerce operator, we have seen that e-commerce operator is a new concept under the provisions of the GST. They compulsory required to take the registration because they are making the supply on the platform of the e-commerce operations, electronic commerce of operations. They are making their supply. Therefore, they are compulsory required to make the registration, to take the registration. There are certain suppliers who supply the goods through the e-commerce operator, and they are also liable to collect the TCS, that is tax collection at source, or TDS. TCS and TCS, TDS and TCS, both the provisions are also applied to the e-commerce operator. In that case, they are also required to take the registration. Online platform are there, and people are making the supply on the online platform. In that case, if they are doing their supply on the online service providers basis, providing the service from outside India to the non-registered person, these people are also required to take the compulsory registration. I have taken one example here. How aggregate turnover is calculated for the provisions of the GST registration. The person is XYZ, having a unit at Mumbai, turnover is 11 lakhs. Another unit at Assam, turnover 11 lakhs. In case of special territory, the limit is 10 lakhs for taking the registration. Yes, in case of Assam, the assessee is required to take the registration. Assam unit is a special category state wherein the registration limit is 10 lakhs. Therefore, they are required to take the registration. In case of Mumbai, in the state of Maharashtra, here the limit of registration is 40 lakhs in case of goods, 20 lakhs in case of services. So if I am taking the registration limit as 20 lakhs, and if my turnover is 11 lakhs, from this point, it has been seen that there is no need to take the registration. But as I am a XYZ Limited, I am having a single PAN, and I am having the branches of this, and both the units are coming under my PAN. Therefore, the total turnover is more than 20 lakhs. I will have to take compulsory registration. Even though the aggregate turnover is less than 20 lakhs, the registration would be mandatory for Mumbai unit by the virtue of mandatory registration in Assam. In case of services, yes, the registration is required. In case of goods, if I am talking about the goods, as the Assam unit is coming under the registration, Mumbai unit is also coming under the registration. Procedure for the registration. Section 25 is there. In case of registration, I will have to make the application. We will see the online application, how it can be seen, but the application should be made within 30 days. In case of special dealers like casual dealer, non-resident dealer, they will have to apply within 5 days from the commencement of their business, because they will have to pay the advance tax in GST. Once they are here and start their or commence their business, they will have to take the registration within 5 days and make the advance tax for the services that they are rendering or making the supply of services, or maybe the supply of the goods after the period of time. Persons supplying from the territory waters of India, yes, they are also required to take the registration. Single registration in a particular state is sufficient, or in a union territory can be sufficient. If the multiple business verticals are there, we have seen the concept of the business vertical, which is not successful in India. Therefore, because of cost, therefore, if the person is having multiple business vertical, they also require to take the registration. We'll see the online process of the registration, how it can be done. If any question is there, you can put in or ask about it. Then we'll see the slides of the actual registration, how it can be done. Any questions from your end, you can put in. Okay, I feel no question is there. Shall I proceed?
Yes,
Proceed.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
That means you all of you are listening to me. Thank you. Okay. If I'm going to the
Yes,
portal
sir.
of the GST portal is there. And if I'm making the registration, then I will have to go to the services. This is the portal basically. If I'm putting www.gst.in, after that there is a portal of the GST. And in that portal, I will have to go for the registration through this icon, that is services. And in services, I can see here services. There are different kind of services. You can see here services: registration, payment, user services, refunds, e-way bill, track application status. So as I will have to apply for registration, the registration is a new registration. So I will click here, new registration. After the clicking of the new registration under the GST portal itself, the step is there. Go to the GST portal, then services, then click on the registration tab. Then after clicking on the registration tab, this platform would be there. So in step 2, I can see here 2 parts. One part is that new registration, other one is temporary reference number, that is TRN. So I will have to go with this new registration. I will click here, new registration. After clicking the new registration, the general information with respect to the registration is required to be given. Basically, as it has been taken from the department side, I think it is not so visible. Is it visible to all of you? Can you see now? Okay, new registration. It is okay then. New registration. I am a taxpayer having my state, having my district, and my legal name, my PAN, my email ID, and my mobile number. So at least when you are applying for the registration, this particular information is required beforehand. If it is available, you can put in that information and proceed for the registration. So if I am a taxpayer and being a company, I will have to select the state of Maharashtra, for example, A, B, C, or XYZ company, private limited, state is Maharashtra, district is in the state of Maharashtra, district is suppose in Mumbai, legal name of your business has to be mentioned, the XYZ limited or private limited as the case may be, then the PAN of the limited or private limited company has to be mentioned here, email ID, this should be registered email ID of the company, and the mobile number of those person who is a registered person or who is an authorized legal person on the behalf of the company has to be mentioned. Then you can proceed with the CAPTCHA. Now, after giving the CAPTCHA, you will receive the OTP on the registered email ID, what you have mentioned here, and your mobile number. Then you will have to click the proceed further. Then you'll have to enter the OTP. Two OTPs are received. One is at email ID, one is at mobile, provided your mobile number should be PAN link, because what happened, your registration is PAN based registration. So it is very important that your contact details or your that mobile number should be linked with your PAN. Then you can click on a continuation form. Then you will get the 15-digit TRN number. You can see here your temporary reference number is this. So after having a process of, after putting the information in the new registration, where in initial phase I'm going to services, then in the part of registration, then new registration, then put in the information as a general information. After that, I will get the two OTPs, one at mail ID, one in my mobile number, which should be linked with the PAN. And after having this process, I will click to the proceed, and after that, I will get the TRN number. This is very important. If I'm not having this TRN number, I cannot proceed for the registration. So after getting this TRN number, you will have to note it down and proceed for the registration. Once again, go to your GST portal, the tab, and take the screenshot of this TRN number and put in that TRN number here. Where? Here. This is GST site where I am here, services, then registration. Then there are two parts in registration: services, www.gst.gov.in, then services, then registration, then new registration, and then TRN. I have taken new registration already beforehand, just to have seen. Then I will have to put the information in the form of here, temporary reference number, that is TRN number. I am putting my TRN number here, then getting that particular CAPTCHA, the character which is given here, and then I will proceed. After proceed of this, I will receive the OTP on my registered email ID as well as my registered mobile number. That particular OTP is required to be mentioned here. What happened? That particular OTP in mobile number and email ID are same. So if you are having access of the mail ID, you can straight away put that one. If you have access of the mobile number, you can put away straight one. After putting the OTP, then my process of the registration will be started. So this kind of window will be open where my application, what I have initially made the information, like my name of the registered person, district, then the PAN of the person, the information will automatically be taken in the process of the registration. So I'll have to take the action. There are two actions. One is in the form of edit, one is in the form of delete. So this portion is related to the delete. I will make the action to edit the process. Once I am making the edit, then it will go further in the form here. Here, the application for the registration is open, and it can be seen that the application type is under the provisions of the new registration, and you have given due date to complete. Normally 15 days time is available for the valid TRN. After 15 days, that TRN will be lapsed. So from the date of creation of that TRN, 15 days time is available to me to make the registration process complete. It was initially modified on this date. Now I have a time of 15 days further, and I will have to fill whole the profile, all the parameters which is given under the registration process. So before registration, what I need to keep with me is that a certain kind of documents to proceed with the registration. And those documents are my photograph. If in case of company and I am director of the company, I will have to keep my photo, the constitution of the company. If it is a partnership firm, then in that case, partner has to keep the photo and the constitution, your PAN, the Aadhaar of the authorized person, proof for the place of business, where the place of business is there. For example, electricity bill is there. You can keep the electricity bill so that you can put in the information, your bank account detail. As you are a new registered person and you don't have any your bank account, you can keep the information for further print. It is not necessary that the bank details should be inserted immediately. It can be taken after allotment of the GST numbers. So immediately there is no need to have bank details, but it should be updated after getting the RC, that is after getting the registration certificate from the department. Then you should have a process of your Aadhaar authentication or Aadhaar verification. Your Aadhaar should be updated with your mobile number so that after Aadhaar authentication, your that particular OTP should be there and authentication by way of your Aadhaar should be done properly. So these are the basically details here. Right now, till the time of TRN, the profile which is completed by me is only 20%. We'll go further. Next step, step number 10. There is a business detail. We will see one by one. I don't have to put the PAN details because it has already been taken under the 20% profile. Then trade name is already been given by me at the time of TRN generation. Then I will have to select the part for whether I am a normal person or composition person. So for the purpose of registration, I will have to check it out whether I am going to take the registration under the normal category or maybe under the category of the composition. So if I am a person under the composition, I will have to opt for the composition here in registration itself. There are a category of the registered person, whether I am a manufacturer or other than manufacturer, I am a supplier of making a particular supply under the schedule of that particular commodity or maybe particular services under the schedule 2 or any other supplier other than this. So I'll have to take the options from this. And I will have to declare that whatever the information is given here is correct, and accordingly I will have to proceed. I will also have to mention the reasons for the obtaining the registration. Why I am obtaining the registration? Whether my turnover exceeds rupees 20 lakhs in case of services or 40 lakhs in case of goods, whether it is an interstate supply, because all the assessees, all the persons, the definition of person who are making the interstate supply are compulsorily required to take the registration. Whether I am liable to pay as a recipient under the reverse charge mechanism, I will have to take the registration. Whether I am making any transfer or succession of the business, I will have to take the registration. Whether there is a date of the promoter or proprietor, then the business would be closed or maybe transferred to another person, I will have to take the registration. In case of merger, demerger, amalgamation, in case of change of constitution of the business from proprietary to partnership, from partnership to company, in that case, change of constitution of the business, yes, registration is required. In case of merger, amalgamation, e-commerce operator, compulsory registration. Selling through anything which is made a supply through the e-commerce portal, compulsory registration. If anything is not there, then if I would like to take the voluntary registration, so I can take the voluntary registration. Why voluntary registration is required? To take the input tax credit basically. If I am purchasing the goods and I will have to start my business after a certain period of time or making the sale of the goods after certain period of months, and I am just purchasing the goods, in that case, it is better to take the registration, because the input tax which is available on the purchase of the goods or services would be available to the assessee. So from the date when the purchase is made, it is better to apply for the registration. Otherwise, after the purchase, within 30 days, it should be made by the assessee, so that he can take the relevant input tax credit in his returns. So registration is applicable in the form of voluntary basis of registration. There are certain people who are under the input service distributor, they are required to take the registration. There are certain supplier who are compulsory required to take the registration, because they are under the definition of the taxable person. They are making the outward supply in the form of taxable goods. Then they are required to take the registration. SAGE units are there, special economic zone are there, special economic developers are there, and there are, if the person is not coming, others part. For example, CNF agent is there. For example, the person who is selling certain services which is not coming under the here, then they are coming under the other part, and accordingly they will have to do the registration. So these are the slides which are, you'll have to select for why you are taking the registration. I am taking the registration because my limit has been crossed. I am the service provider. I am the process is due to the death of the particular person, maybe change of the constitution. You will have to mention and select accordingly, proceed for the registration. And required document is also required to be uploaded for the reasons. If the changing in constitution, then the deed of change of constitution is there. If there is a date of the person's death certificate should be there. Crossing the limit, then you can put in simply that yes, the limit is crossed, therefore I am coming under the compulsory registration. In case of voluntary, there is no need to have any supporting documents. You can take straight away registration. But if you have a supporting document, you can put in, otherwise you can proceed in a straight away. Then you'll have to mention the detail with respect to your business, because what is the kind of your business, your trade name, your constitution, private limited or partnership firm, maybe individual, maybe your AOP, BOI, what maybe the kind of your constitution you have to mention. Then your details of this should be filled by the assessee. Reasons for registration that we have seen. Then what is important here is that from which date you are required to take the registration. Whether the date is after the purchase of the goods, whether the date is after the sale of the goods, which date would be there, where you will have to take the registration. Whether registration is required to be date from first day or maybe before 1 year, so that date should be mentioned by you. If it is taken before 1 year, that means you are required to pay the GST before 1 year. So this is very important for you. You will have to select it properly. Date on which the liability to register is start. So liability to register is start normally for the compulsory registration when your turnover for goods exceeds rupees 40 lakhs, and in case of services exceeds rupees 20 lakhs. In that case, you can put in the date accordingly. When your business has been commenced, my business may be commenced before 2 years, and the liabilities arise before 2 months or 1 month, as the case may be. So commencement of business does not make any trigger of the liability of invoke of the liability towards the payment of the GST. What is important is that when liability to pay the GST is arise, accordingly they will have to take the registration. So date of commencement of business may be anything. Type of registration, registration number, date of registration, and accordingly you will have to proceed. This is the business detail basically. Then you will have to mention the promoter's detail. These are the basically tabs which can be opened after putting, and you will have to put every information. So there is a information required for the promoters, partners, their details, their name, address, mobile number, date of birth, email address. So what happened when you are applying for the registration, you should keep in your hand all this information ready so that the registration can be made easily. What happened here? After putting all the information of the promoters, partners, maybe directors, so the information should be in such a way, after uploading the documents, your photograph or whatever the other information is there, it should not exceed the JPG file. JPG file, that size should not exceed 1 MB. So you will have to reduce that part. It should not exceed 1 MB. If it exceeds 1 MB, then it will not take the insert of that file and accordingly deny for your registration. So you should ensure that whatever your supporting document, whether it is related to your PAN, maybe Aadhaar, maybe photo, it should be less than or up to 1 MB, less than 1 MB. Then you can save and continue the process. The second step is related to the other information, where the person who is authorized signatory, maybe directors, maybe partners, their particular information should be disclosed here. Their mail ID, their phone number, mobile number, their address, all the information should be put in, and their photograph, if it is available, should be put in. Principal place of business is very important. You'll have to mention the principal place of business by way of electricity bill, or maybe in case of partnership firm, there is a partnership deed. In case of company, there is a certificate of incorporation. Will suffice the reason for the principal place of business. In case of Section 8 company, Section 8 document, the ROC documents, registration certificate, it may be sufficient to take the registration for the principal place of business. It should be stored properly. The information should be mentioned for the principal place. This is basically not seen properly, but the information is related to this part and general information. It is not so, it is very handy information which is available for the partnership firm by the partners, for the company by the directors. So general information should be put in. Then after that, you will have to mention that whether there is a regular place of business and also having an additional place of business. What happened? Right now, various people, I have seen the various assessees who is registered under the GST since 1st July 2017, and they are having an additional place of business, and they have not updated their additional place of business in the GST portal. This is very important. If they have not updated with the GST portal, it should be updated by making the amendment in the core fields of the registration, or maybe the non-core field, whatever may be that particular field should be updated with the additional place of business. In initial phase, if I am making the registration as a new registration, I will have to mention if I am having a new additional place of business. If I don't have any additional place of business, I will have to proceed further. Or those assessees or those persons who are already being registered under the provisions of the GST and they are having an additional place of business, it is required for those people to amend their registration certificate by adding the information as an additional place of business with the supporting documents like electricity bills or others, whatever may be. Then assessee is required to mention the HSN code. There are two codes basically under the provisions of the GST. One is Harmonized System of Nomenclature, HSN. Other one is SAC code. This is Service Accounting Code, which was available in Service Tax Exam also. So these HSN code are compulsory required to be mentioned by the assessee so that the assessing officer can see that what is the kind of supply that assessee is making here. So for those goods, commodities, or maybe services, whatever may be, that particular code should be selected, and accordingly the rate of GST will be applicable. If my supply is under the 5% rate of the commodity as per the HSN code, then I will have to raise my invoice as per that HSN code at 5% only, maybe 12%, maybe 18%. I will have to mention in the HSN code whatever the supply is already mentioned in the HSN of during the time of registration, that should be kept with or aligned with your invoice. If you are having another kind of supply, those assessees who are already been registered since GST and they are having a different kind of supply, and that particular supply is not mentioned in the registration certificate and making the supply, in that case there is a deviation from the compliance of the GST. It may trigger, it may invoke the penalty provisions, maybe interest provision, penalty provisions, and to the assessee if the particular HSN code on which they are making their supply is not mentioned in the registration certificate. So it is very important. If the assessee is not updated with that particular part of HSN, they are required to update it, and you can give the suggestion to your assessees for making the updation of the code. So two things are very important: additional place of business and then HSN code, because on the basis of HSN code, you are raising your invoice. Bank details can be mentioned after 27 December. Basically, the bank details till 27 December, it was compulsory. After 27 December, it is not compulsory. After taking the registration certificate, you can update, because auto-populated part will be there. After taking the registration, you can update your bank details. Still, we are updating our bank details. The registration which has been allotted since 1st July 2017. There is another part, basically, where the assessee is required to mention the details of the professional tax. If assessee is having a PT number, that is professional tax number, then he has to mention the PT. What happened? This PT registration certificate is asking by the State Department. If I'm making application for the registration and my registration application goes to the jurisdiction of the center or central GST department, they are not asking about the PT registration certificate. So it is not a compulsory field. But what happened, since we are the assessees who are registered under the state, and they are also compulsory required to be coming under the provisions of the professional tax, where they need to pay the professional tax in Maharashtra, state of Maharashtra, 2,500, or maybe as per the professional tax registration for their employees is to be concerned, they will have to mention their registration certificate. Otherwise, your registration for the GST can be held up by the department. So you will have to pay the liability towards the PT, and then the registration under the GST will be available to you. Otherwise, your registration will not be granted by the state GST department in Maharashtra, basically. So there are other columns where you are done with all the details which is required to be mentioned. And now the process of the e-verification is started under the GST. So next step is to choose whether or not you are willing to have a Aadhaar authentication. There are two parts. If the person is a company, then Aadhaar authentication should be done by the directors, or maybe the authorized person, whosoever is, maybe the employee of the company also. In case of partnership firm, maybe basically by the partners. So Aadhaar of that particular partner and that mobile number where the OTP will come in, it should be authenticated properly. In that case, you will take very less time to take the registration certificate. If Aadhaar authentication is not available, then your registration may be held up. Because if no Aadhaar verification or authentication is there, the physical verification of your place of business will be triggered by the assessing officer, and after having a physical visit of your place of business, the assessing officer will ask too many questions to you with respect to your registration, and after that the registration will be granted. The process may take more than 15 days, maybe more than 1 month. So this is very important. While making the application for the registration, your Aadhaar should be linked, your mobile number should be linked with the Aadhaar, so that Aadhaar authentication will be done in very easy manner. After that, there is a process that you will have to give certain information with respect to your PT details, others. If it is available in the form of PTRC, PTEC, your state excise license number, it is not compulsory basically. If it has not been given, then no problem at all. If specifically asked by the assessing officer, you can give it, otherwise it is not compulsory. Then Aadhaar authentication has been done, and after that you will get the verification page, and message will be displayed, and your ARN has been generated, which has been sent to your registered email ID. And you will get the, after certain period of time, maybe 3 days, maybe after the Aadhaar authentication, maybe 3 days, maybe 7 days, when the assessing officer is finding the whether all the documents which are required for the registration has been put in place while making the application for the registration by the assessee. In that case, assessing officer will issue the registration certificate, and the registration certificate will be in the form of GST REG06 having 15-digit GST number. It is based on state code. For Maharashtra 27, your PAN number, and your entity code, maybe 3-digit check digits, basically 1Z1, 1Z2, like this. These are only the check digits. If it is 1Z2, that means you are having a business vertical 2 registration. If it is 1Z3, that means you are having a 3 registration. So likewise, this is a check digit for the registration. So you will get the registration certificate accordingly. Composition people can also get the registration if they are applying for that as per their limit, and you'll have to mention that one. There are certain people who are required to deduct the TDS, TCS. They can also apply for the registration, and the limit is also there for making the supply under the provisions of the law. In case of TDS, I have mentioned particularly because the certain PSU sectors are there who are deducting the TDS of the CC, or there may be the certain department. In case of works context is to be concerned, for example, PWD department is there, irrigation department is there. These kind of department are deducting the TDS of the CC, and after making the deduction of the assessee is required to file separate GST return to claim the TDS claim in their written filing process. We can see that one after this process is completion. So these are the department. If the particular supply is exceeding rupees 2.5 lakhs, they are required to deduct the TDS. Before that one, they will have to apply for the GST number under a particular form within a certain period of time. Once registration is granted, it can be cancelled by the assessing officer. The cancellation may be the case where assessee is not filing their returns properly. I have taken my registration, and since 6 months I have not filed my return. So in that case, assessee has authority to cancel the registration suo motu. If I am filing my returns, but my returns are nil, so in that case, assessing officer can ask me that why you are filing your return as a nil returns. And accordingly, if my returns are nil for a period of 6 months, after another 6 months nil returns, then assessing officer may issue me a show cause notice that why the return is nil. Why you are not making any outward supply, why the GST liability is not coming to you, why you are taking the registration thing. The show cause notice may come from the assessing officer, and accordingly you will have to reply. If the RC, that is the registration certificate, is cancelled by the assessing officer, and in that case the period is given, the RC can be cancelled on the application of the RC holder, that is assessee. If assessee is making the cancellation or by the proper officer in his own motion, then it can be cancelled within the period of 30 days by the proper officer after receiving the application from the assessee. If I do not require further to have my registration and I do not have any further liability, I can make the cancellation. Or if assessing officer is finding that there is a nil returns or not filing the returns by the assessee, in that case, suo motu or by own motion, assessing officer can cancel the registration. Cancellation of registration itself means the cancellation of state GST registration as well as central GST registration. Sometimes it may happen that the registration is cancelled by assessing officer, and assessee, during the COVID period, we have seen a lot of cases. And assessee found that the registration has been cancelled and he don't have any knowledge because the email ID and mobile number is given by the consultant or maybe by that person who is not available there, and all the correspondence with respect to the registration process, maybe show cause notice, everything is going to that person, and assessee does not have any knowledge, the person do not have any knowledge for the cancellation of the registration. In that case, assessee may apply for the revocation of the registration, but there is a time limit. The revocation should be applied to the assessing officer within 30 days. Our maximum period is given another 30 days for revocation. The assessee has to apply to the higher authorities, maybe in case of state, maybe deputy commissioner, maybe joint commissioner, maybe additional commissioner, as the case may be, till the time of 90 days. After the period of 90 days, the assessee cannot revoke or make the applications of revocations. He has to go to the appeal, and appeal should be filed for the revocation of registration with the appellate forum, and you can make your proper grounds and request or make the humble submission to the appellate authority that the registration which has been revoked by the assessing officer is not proper, and we are not having the knowledge about it, and accordingly you can pray that kindly revoke the registration so that we can start our business or continue our business with the registration of the GST. Voluntary registration, we have seen that one. The person can voluntarily make the registration where there is a kind of supply and input is also there. Then voluntary registration can be made anytime, whenever the person feels that yes, registration can be made. GST officer can revoke your registration, and if the assessee is not filing their returns continuously, we have seen that one. Then after cancellation of registration, final return is required to be made, and that final return is nothing but GST RT. This is very important part. We are forgot that after the cancellation of RC, the person are not filing the final return. Government has given the extension of time from time to time, so it is very important to file the return under the GST RT as a final return after the cancellation of the registration. If you are not filing the final return, then the penalty of rupees 5,000 in the CGST, 5,000 in the GST, 10,000 rupees penalty may be levied. You will have to give the reasons that why you are not filing the returns after cancellation. Now coming to the GST returns. So we have seen the part of the registration process, and after getting the registration from the assessing officer.
I have some questions, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, you can proceed with your question, sir. Please, you can ask. Any question with respect to the registration process? Registration, you can ask any question. Hello.
How to know the hello, sir. This is
Yeah,
Manjri
please.
Gamje. Just I want to know how to know the jurisdiction regarding during the filing of this form, the registration
Yes,
form.
absolutely. Right now, what happened when you are filing your registration?
Yes.
Immediate jurisdiction, you are not knowing that which officer is there.
Yeah.
In case of center also, what
Yes.
happened, there is only that particular that ARN number, and from that ARN number you can now trace out that who is the particular officer. So in that case,
Yes.
what happened, you will have to go to the department, and you can
Okay.
ask that where is my jurisdiction, because what happened, I have applied for registration since 7 days, maybe 5 days, and I need
Yes.
my registration immediately, because there may be the kind of supply, there may be the input, whatever may be the kind of urgency of the registration is always there for the people.
Yeah.
So in that case, you can go to the department, ask
Okay.
that particular sale. There is a sale in case of state as well as central. They have maintained the proper data. You can ask there. In case of central, there is a CPC sale. In case of state, there is a support system from the state for the registration process. You can ask them. They will surely give the reference to the particular officer that to whom the jurisdiction.
There we have to give the ARN number, no?
Absolutely, you
Just-
will have to keep ARN with you.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Anil bhai, I have a question. Whether
Yes, sir.
shop and establishment registration is compulsory for registration of GST or not?
Which establishment?
Shop and establishment registration, that is Gomustha license, which is called
Okay.
colloquially.
Okay, okay.
Is it required, compulsory?
No. Gumasta is not required. If you are having your Aadhaar, it is sufficient. Gumasta is not
Yes.
required. Gumasta is not.
Not required. But in many of the cases I have seen, the the officer concerned is asking for Gomasta license, and if you reply that it is not required as per law, the application has been summarily rejected. What has to be done in that case?
In which state it is happening?
It is happening in Chhattisgarh. My different clients are suffering in that particular ground only.
Okay. In that way, in that case, what happened? You can apply with the MSME certificate. That particular MSME certificate registration under the MSME. That particular certificate can suffice for.
They are not asking for MSME certificate. They are asking for Gomasta license, and they are giving the time. You know, they within 3 days they have to give the show cause notice as per Act. But they are issuing show cause notice after 10-15 days and giving time 20 days to obtain the Gomasta license. And when I meet the person, assistant commissioner, he has told that we will forgo it if you give some money. This is the happening going on in the Chhattisgarh district. I have written to the PG portal, complaint lodge kiya. Vigilance maybe I have made a complaint against the concerned person. This is a one mischief person. What shall I do? You tell me. I am a GST practitioner and my clients are.
Yes, I know that about it. First of all, what happened? You will have to, if the assessing officer is asking for the particular details or particular document, basically you will have to give that particular document. But as far as the normal documents under the provisions of the GST, nothing has been mentioned about the Gumasta. What
if it is not
documents which are required? Yes.
Why he is asking? He should not. He is not supposed to ask this document.
Absolutely. Second point I will mention here specifically. There is no cost to take the registration under the GST. You don't have to pay the single rupee to take the registration under the GST because everything is online. In online and faceless provisions, you will have to give your details in online form, and accordingly, assessing officer, it's duty of the assessing officer to take that call whether all the kind of documents which are required under the provisions of the GST for taking the registration by the registered person or any person, whether that particular documents has been attached or not. If those documents are attached, there is no need to do anything. He has to, or he has supposed to give the registration to you.
But it is
otherwise you will have to complain to the upper authority. You can go to the deputy commissioner, or maybe joint commissioner, maybe additional commissioner. My particular registration has been rejected due to this, or you can file the appeal. My registration has been cancelled. You can immediately file the appeal. In no time, within the period of 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you can file the appeal and go to the appellate authority. You can be heard with APL 01, with APL 02, you will get, and immediately it can be heard within the period of 15 days. And that if you are filing the appeal to the appellate authority will ask to the registration authority on which basis you have summarily rejected your registration of the assessee. Give me the reasons. And he may be in problem. You can do accordingly. Definitely, you will succeed in it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other question? Any question with respect to registration, or we will proceed with the returns?
Returns.
Okay. Then we can proceed with the returns, right?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello, can I?
Yeah.
At the stage of registration of GST registration of in the name of HUF.
Okay.
Why they are asking singular every co-pass nurse NOC.
Okay. We are asking for co-partners.
Every
NOC.
co-partners separate NOC for registration of HUF.
I have got your point.
And we
What
have
happened?
shown the same HUF, the same co-partners are the owners of the flat where we are having the office of the HUF.
On which basis you are making the application for the GST? After crossing the threshold limit or voluntarily? In your case, what happened? As you are being a HUF entity, the
Karta of
HUF consists of Karta. Yes.
I am
Being
a
a Karta
Karta.
of, yes. I will give the answer to your questions. Being, as you are a Karta of the HUF and there are members of the HUF, that is co-partners. If you have a deed of the HUF, you can attach that particular deed. Deed does not require to be registered. It can be notarized also. In that deed, what happened? There is a Karta and there are the members of the Karta whose detail has been mentioned in the particular affidavit, maybe in the particular that particular deed of the HUF. It has been attached to your registration. It may suffice. Second point, if they are asking for the NOC for the registration, just in plain letter, you can mention with your name as a Karta and other co-partners name and take the signature of other co-partners, and in 2 line you can take the call that I being a Karta of the firm of having jurisdiction office at this and the co-partners Mr. A, B, C does not with their signatures along there. They do not have any. What we can say is that any objection with respect to carry over my business at this particular place of business. If you are giving that particular letter to the department with the NOC with respect to carry over the business, so that other co-partners should not have any objection that you are carrying the business. The consent is required only.
Carrying on the business, I am having PAN number, I am having bank account details, everything. At no stage they ask co-partner signature.
No problem at all. Just a single line, single page.
No, why I can do business, but I cannot obtain registration.
I can understand your point. What happened in partnership case also? What happened if the particular partner is carrying over the business as an authorized person? The authorized person should be authorized by the other partners also. In case of company, resolution is also required. In case of HUF, yes, I know that it is not partnership. But what happened in the SOP of the giving the registration? They are just checking the genuineness, because what happened in earlier times, various kind of registration has been taken by the people, and after taking the registration, there are the kind of cases where the cases of the fake ITC, and the people who are taking the registration have not filed the registration, have not filed their returns in time, and just wasted the time of the department. So for the precautionary purpose or the internal SOP of the department is to be concerned. If it is the case of the central, then they have their own internal SOPs, and in case of the state, in case of state is there, they have their own SOPs. So accordingly, nothing else, just write it down in 5 lines that you are being a Karta of this, and these are the co-partners, these are member of the HUF, and they don't have any objection with signature. Nothing else. Just put and attach that particular page.
And they have to sign also, no?
Yes, sir. They will have to sign. Yes, yes. Nothing else.
That's what I'm asking. Why NOC? I can do business, but I can't get the registration.
Just you will have to
law itself, Karta is fully authorized to do any damn business of HUF.
Absolutely.
At that stage, nobody is asking me whether you are authorized or not.
Because what happened, Karta himself is a person who is handling the affairs of the business of the HUF. So Karta is the person who is a decision maker for the HUF.
Right. And
therefore, whatever the decision has been taken by the Karta, it should be accepted by the department itself.
That's right.
Right. But if you are mentioning that part as being a Karta, you can also give the reasons why you are not giving the NOC from the other co-partners, because I am a Karta of the
Why it is required at all?
It is not required anywhere. It is not required.
Under
It
what
is the
law it
department
is
that is
required?
asking.
Under which rule it is required?
No, never. It is not required.
I
It is
fought
given.
like anything and then I obtained finally. That is what I am saying.
Absolutely, I can understand your point. But if they are asking about it, you can give in a plain 2 lines or in a simple 1 page.
I know, I understand.
And if it is not given, then you can go to the upper level of the officer and ask them why they are asking about this, and accordingly it can
This
be
is
granted.
what is the harassment.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
And this, I understand, or please correct me if I'm wrong, all this registration process and SOP and everything is given by outsourcing to some outside agency. And once they are very much rule bound and they find any deviation, they simply reject.
What
This is
happened?
I
In case of
get
registration is to be concerned, it is done by department itself. We are regularly making the registration, and the particular jurisdiction allotment to the particular jurisdiction has been made by that GSTN. GSTN is there, and accordingly registration will be granted, provided that whatever information is put in the registration or while filing the registration, the jurisdiction officer should understand that information, that whatever information you are put in is put in correct form, and it is put in the correct order. In that case, definitely you will get the registration. In case of HUF, you should be allotted with the registration, because being a karta, it should not be restricted. However, if it is not been done, you can give your that particular remark or the objection given by the officer, and accordingly you can put your case to the higher authority that the registration has not been given
that is what I'm
by the
saying.
particular
These outsourced
officer.
agency, they don't tell me whom to approach, what to appeal to whom. Nothing they told. I will simply reject and sit tight on that.
That is why in first question,
But
madam has told
sorry, you
that
can proceed on these lines.
no issue. Madam has
Yeah.
already said that there is a ARN based registration. Sir, how can we go to the jurisdiction officer? Nothing has been mentioned there. So in that case, you can approach with the department with your ARN. Definitely, there is a support cell from the central as well as state is there, and accordingly they will guide you and support you, because what happened, department is also cooperative. There is nothing being there, anything with the deviations from the compliance is to be from the compliance person from the department is to be viewed. You can take the details from the department itself. Definitely they will give the proper guidelines to you, and if it is not available, you can definitely go to the a kind person or kind officer in the department. There are various kind officers in the department. You can ask about here, if in you are in Pune, if you are in Mumbai, if you are in Nagpur, maybe Aurangabad, where so is there. The from the state department, the officers are very cooperative. From central, now the officers are also taking care of your all these procedures of registration, because instruction has been given by the higher authorities that registration should not be withheld with you. It should be given as early as possible, because there are various points related to the business of the concerned assessee. So it should be given on priority.
Anyway, this is what is the problem in registration. As if they are
Right.
wanting not to give registration. And just because fraudulent registration, somebody may do, still 100 people will do fraud, that is all right. But genuine parties are requested to do all sort of unnecessary things.
From which place you are here, sir?
Mumbai.
In Mumbai.
Yes.
Okay. If possible, you are having your ARN, kindly share with me. Accordingly,
No,
yeah.
as I told you, I vehemently argued before that people only. But that was from that only I could make out it is a outsourced agency. They are not simply able to and not understanding also. They don't understand what is HUF, what is a karta, nothing. The
Okay. Because what happened, department don't have a
on
kind of
behalf
proper
of
knowledge.
HUF, I can do business crores of rupees. But for registration, I can't do myself with my single signature.
No, I can understand. I can understand, sir. No issue. After the session is completed, you can contact me also.
Yes.
Accordingly, if possible, I can do for you anything. Surely, I will do for you, sir.
That's good.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Then we will proceed with the GST registration. There are basically, we have mentioned the, in case of GST return filing process, we have mentioned there are three kinds of returns, GSTR 3B, 1 and 9. As we have seen here that every registered person after getting the registration is required to file the GST returns. If it is related to GSTR 3B, there are 2 points. One is that the assessee is required to file monthly returns. Assessee is required to file the quarterly returns. In case of R1 also quarterly, monthly, and in case of GSTR 9 there is an annual returns. So what happened in case of GSTR 3B is to be concerned, if my turnover is exceeding rupees 5 crores, I will have to compulsorily file the GSTR 1 on monthly basis. Being a assessee, being a registered person, and my previous year turnover exceeds rupees 5 crore, I will have compulsory required to file the GST returns monthly and GSTR 1 as well as GSTR 3B monthly. There are certain assessees whose turnover is less than 5 crores, then they are required to file the returns on the basis of quarterly. And in case of annual returns, restrictions are also given. If my turnover is more than 2 crores, I will have to compulsory required to file the annual returns under the provisions of the GST. Along with these returns, assessee can file a kind of forms, that is invoice furnishing facility is there. What is invoice furnishing facility? It is a kind of return in the form of R1 only. So with the effect from 1st January 2021, person with the turnover more than 5 crores has to file on a monthly basis. And the assessee or the person having turnover up to 5 crores in the preceding year can file the return on quarterly basis. They can choose. The person who are choosing under the quarterly, as per the department, that particular limit of quarterly filing can shift to the monthly also. So it is not necessary that if my turnover is 1 crore, I will have to file the returns on quarterly basis. I can opt to the monthly also. It's up to me. So it's a provisions of voluntarily selections of the frequency of filing of returns. But this is a compulsory required to select that if my turnover is more than 5 crore, I am compulsory coming under the frequency of filing of GSTR 3B and R1 in the category of the monthly basis. So here I can take the call that even though my turnover is less than 5 crore, I can shift to the from quarterly basis of filing to the monthly basis of filing, and it may be advantageous. Basically what happened here, even though person's turnover is up to 5 crore, they are required to make the payment under 3B. They are required to make the payment under QRPM, quarterly return monthly payment. So under the scheme of the QRPM, they are compulsory required to make the payment if the liability arises in a particular month. For example, if my turnover is rupees 2 crores and during the period of 2 crores, I am filing my returns on quarterly basis. If I'm taking the example in the month of January till the December, I have filed my returns in quarterly basis, R1, 3B on quarterly basis and make my payment. However, in particular month, in the month of January, I am having a kind of suppliers to whom I am raising the bills. They are saying me that, sir, your ITC is not reflected in our 2B report. So there is a what we can do for you, or what you can do in other options, then in that case I will have to file my returns under the IFF, that is invoice furnishing utility form, or otherwise I will have to shift to a monthly basis, so that my R1 should be filed in monthly form. So IFF provision is there where assessee can give the details while filing the invoice furnishing utility, details regarding your invoice, where there is a invoice number, there is the name of person to whom the supply is made, GST number, IGST, CGST, HGST, description of the goods, description of the services, HSN code. All this kind of information is required while filing the returns under the IFF. We'll see the snapshot from the return filing process later on. But initially, if I'm talking about the monthly filing or quarterly filing, if I am under the quarterly filing, for the sake of getting the ITC by the other person, I can go ahead with the monthly filing, or I can go ahead with the IFF filing, where the invoice furnishing utility has given option to me to show the details of the invoice in the invoice furnishing me with the effect from 1st January 21 itself.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Just I want to know whether IAF facility is mandatory, or I can opt whether it's on my.
It is not mandatory. It is
It's
not
not
mandatory. No,
Okay.
no. You don't require compulsory to file the IFF.
Okay.
Only the people are filing the IFF to have a convenience that ITC should be available to and pass on to the other person.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
happens
that's
from the 1st January?
that's the only issue I want to know. It's upon me whether I opt for IF or not. You know.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. What happened from 1st January? The credit
Yeah.
available in 2B is available to be claimed while filing the GSTR 3B. We will see that one after taking the process of the 3B. Therefore, people have opted to file under the IFF. Otherwise, it is not a compulsory under the
Okay.
provisions of the law.
Okay, sir.
Then we'll see the process of the GSTR1. The process of GSTR1 is related basically the supply, and the supply is nothing but a sales, where there is a sales of the goods or services. There are certain sales return, maybe debit note, maybe credit note. So all the kind of supply which is related to the B2B, business to business supply, where GST number or registered person numbers has been given. There are two concepts we'll have to understand for filing the GSTR1, that is the supply to the registered person, supply to the unregistered person. The supply to the registered person has been given in the form of B2B supply. The supply to the unregistered person has been given in the form of B2C supply. There may be other supply which may be exempt under the provisions of the law, export supply, exempted supply. There may be the certain kind of amendment in the invoice due to the rate changes, maybe the invoice number changes, maybe the date of invoice, whatever may be the kind of amendments. But it is whatever the kind of amendment is there, B2B supply is there, B2C is there, export is there, exempt is there, nil rated supply is there, HSN code is there. Everything should be given in the GSTR1. So in GSTR1 is nothing but a sale registered. In short, we can say is that a sale registered, where there is a outward supply made by the registered person, and after making the invoices for the sale, the collection of that particular or consolidation of all the invoices in a particular form is nothing but a GSTR1. After putting the information in R1, there is a limit, time limit, that you should put your information in R1, because there is a due date of filing the GSTR1. Due date is 11th of the next month, or for quarterly, it is 13th of the next month. After that, portal will be closed. After 13, you will not get the options to file under IFF also. So for quarterly filer, 13 is the last date to file. And for monthly filer, 11th is the last date to file. After that, the portal will be closed and you will not get the place to file your details or missing details in the R1. So you should complete your sale register. You should say your clients that please complete your sale register, stop to prepare the sale bills, credit bills, credit note, debit note related to the R1, any information related to R1 should be available to you for filing before the period of 11. If you are a consultant and filing various GST returns, so it is better to have the information in your hand till the time of 5th of the particular month or 7th of the particular month. If it is available with you, you can comfortably file the various kind of return. If the support staff is there, then it can be filed till the time of due date. If the support staff is not there, then it is very difficult to file the returns within the due period of time. In case of quarterly filing, you should have to get the information before 13 so that you can put in all the information related to the sales within the period of 13th of that particular month while filing your GST R1. What is R1? It is nothing but a summary details of the invoice basically. If you are going to see your invoice, the reflection of the invoice is available in the R1 only, nothing else. What it said? It said in the form of B2B supply, B2B sales, and B2B sales is related to the registered person, where there is a date, invoice number, GSTN number, invoice value, and taxable value should be rate wise. It may be possible that in a particular invoice there may be the two rates. Rate may be related to the particular goods which is chargeable at the rate of 12%, and rate may be related to the services which is chargeable at the rate of 18%. Both the rates are different, and the invoice is related, it is a single invoice. In that case, that particular single invoice should be mentioned with two rates in the GST R1. Details should be mentioned properly. Sometimes the mistake may be happened while putting the information in the R1. It should be carefully seen that a particular invoice is having a two rates of GST. Therefore, it should be properly seen and put in your GST R1 with B2B supply. In R1 sales, in R1 there is a B2C supply also. There is another column after B2B. There is another column for C, where the supply is made to the unregistered person, net sale, and B2B net sale supply is in the form of sale as reduced by the sale returns, and the GST is to be reported properly on rate wise. If the particular supply is at under the provisions of the IGST, then that particular rate should be mentioned. If it is supply under CGST, HGST, then rate should be, if it is related to 18%, 9%, 9% should be mentioned. So proper disclosure should be made as per your invoice detail in consolidation form in B2B as well as in B2C. There is information with credit note, debit note in the GSTR1. Details of each credit note, debit note issued should be separately given and properly mentioned in that particular column. Column is there. I will show you that column while we'll see the process of filing the R1. Export sale details should be given. Bill of entry and all the details related to the export should be given. Other details may also be given. If your supply is nil rated, exempted, then put in that information in the particular that kind of slides where the nil rated and exempted sale should be mentioned. It is related to the intrastate sale. It may be related to the interstate sale. It should be properly mentioned. There may be the payment for advance payment of the or advance receipt on which you will have to pay the tax in case of services is there. In case of service, you will have to pay the GST on advance payment receipts. You will have to mention that particular details in that particular column. If there is amendment in the old invoices, then that amendment should be seen that, because amendment is also possible within the threshold limit of time which is given under section 16 subsection 4, 16 subsection 2. If you are exceeding that particular limit of putting that your information for the amendment, you will lose to have the particular kind of input tax credit to the other person. So amendment should also be made within the particular period of time. That is, the particular period of time which is available is 1.5 years, which was initially till the time of filing of September return in the next year, and which is enhanced to the period of 30th of November. Now the budget says that you can put in amendment any information with respect to your particular R1 till the time of 30th of September, the amendment can be possible. After that, it is very difficult because law has not been amended. Law has given a maximum time limit to amend your kind of invoices till the time of 30th of September. HSN summary should also be given in your R1. document details should also be given in serial number 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. How it has been seen while filing the R1. If I'm putting the information in B2B sector, in case of B2B, the information should be put in like this: GSTN, receiver's name, like to whom you have raised your invoice, that particular invoice number, particular date, invoice value, place of supply, reverse charge, rate of GST, invoice type, whether you are regular in invoice type, whether it is related to the sales unit, supply to the special economic zone, is of having a two option. One is with the payment of GST, another one is without the payment of GST. It should be properly mentioned that whether the supply is of normal supply or supply to the sales with the payment of GST, without the payment of GST, whether the supply is a deemed supply. Supply is not in the definition of supply, but it is a deeming fiction under the provisions of law that supply is a deemed supply. Normally, the provisions of deeming is not here. Normally, the people are giving the regular supply, raising the bill. If it is sales, if it is a kind of export is separately given. If it is regular and sales, two kind of supply can be mentioned under the B2B supply. And you should mention the rate properly, at which rate, whether it is related to the IGST, whether it is related to CGST, it should be properly given, because you'll have to mention the place of supply. Initially, we have seen that it is a destination-based tax. If the destination is within the state, then it is a interstate supply. CGST, HGST is applicable. Is destination to put or to make the movement of the goods from one state to another state, then the place of supply is outside the state. In that case, the IGST will be applicable. So you'll have to put in the place of supply properly. If there is a mistake in putting the place of supply, then automatically system will take in CGST, IGST. If it is not in a place of supply, is not in within the state, then it will immediately take in IGST part. If it is within the state, immediately it will take in CGST, HGST. And if it is taken in CGST, in HGST, what happened? Automatically, while filing your 3B, that particular part is auto-populated in your 3B, and it is also taken in CGST and HGST. So there may be the chances that the liability may be invoked two times. One is that due to your mistake, even though there is amendment is there with respect to the kind of particular place of supply can be changed after 2 months, 3 months, till the time of 30th of November, you can change that kind of slide. But what happened while filing 3B? It may be wrong. Filing 3B, you absorb that particular or offset that particular liability in that particular sequence only. It is in IGST form, and you offset your liability in CGST and HGST. This is wrong, basically. So you should be very cautious. Only the amendment part will not suffice the reasons that we have made the amendment with respect to the particular invoice, but while filing the GST 3B, the payment in the GST has been made. You will have to make the payment through the DRC 03 and make the amendment separately and take the refund by way of making the refund application. It may cause the double actions from your end. So you should be very particular while putting the information, while putting the correct information in the B2B supply. This is very important. Second point is that if my GSTN number is not correct, or I have put that number of another person, it may possible that the supply is passed on to the another person. It may possible that the ITC may be taken by that person to whom the real supply has not been made. So there may be the chances that the other person has taken the credit of that, and there may be the cases of the unjust enrichment where the supply is not related to that particular person and the credit has been taken by a particular person as the credit has been passed on to him. So it is very difficult at the department to take a note of that the supply has been made in that particular GST number is not a correct number. However, you have shown that number in your GSTN while filing the 3B. So it is very difficult to reverse that one, to take the credit to the other person if you are making your supply in the wrong GSTN. So you should be very careful for passing of the GST to the other person.
Hello. Hello,
yes,
sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I am Amit Joshi speaking. Sir, my question is that in, good evening. My question is that in earlier case of when at the time of VAT, or CST, at that time when high seas sale were there, so at that time the sales tax was not applicable. However, in case of GST, in case of high seas sale, so the GST is applicable, no? That is IGST is applicable, no? In that case,
Yes,
what I
yes,
understood.
absolutely. It is. Yes, 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 yes.
So
You
now it is
have
not
correctly understood.
high seas sale is not exempted, no, from tax, sales tax, no.
Yes, 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 yes. What happened? The concept of IC sale has been scrapped basically. It is taken in the form of other way. If I'm making the supply to A to B to C, and my branches are there, so the concept has been completely changed. So what happened? If I'm making my supply to another person, I'm raising my invoice. The other person is taking the credit. Other person is again making the supply to the another person. That particular person is taking the credit. So in sequence, when you are raising the bill or other person is raising the bill, the input is automatically available to the other person. So in that
So
form,
whatever
you will have to
input tax credit taking is in a normal case is the same as what in the high seas sale. That means there is no difference now in high seas.
Absolutely. Yes, I know about it. Yes, yes, I know.
Okay, so second, I just want to understand that it was correct. And second thing, I just want to understand that in 48th GST Council meeting on 27 December 2022, the government has created some provision regarding those who are having the mismatch in the ITC for the period 2017-18 and 18-19. Okay.
Correct.
So government
Correct.
he
Correct.
given some provisions for those and given some relaxation on providing some document they can go ahead with claiming the ITC. Now what happened in some of the states like Karnataka and some other states, they are providing these facility extending these for 1920 also for the financial 1920. So my question is that is the government is going to provide this particular relaxation for all India, all the states for 1920, because slowly what I heard that Karnataka had recently done that on 21st of February 2023 that they have allowed for 2019-20 these relaxation whatever on 48 GST meeting was there. So some other state is also there. I don't have a name right now. But what is your opinion? Is this going to be applicable to throughout the country for 1920 as well?
Whatever the formalities which are available for 1718, 1819 should be applicable for 1920, because same mistake has been happened in 1920 also. So what happened?
Government
Already there is a High Court judgment which has been given that it should be available to the 1920. But what happened? There is no such a proper circular from the department is to be concerned. How you are reading that particular circular which is dated 27th of December, and if it is properly given that FAQs on that part, that yes, it is applicable for 1920 also. What happened in latter stage when the department is checking the part that in 1920, in case of audit cases, you can see is that central department is having a kind of audit for 1920 also, and in state department they are having a mismatch of all these things 2A and 3B. In that case, it has been seen that similar kind of mismatches or similar kind of problems are being arise to the assessee for 1920, which was arised or arose at the time of 1718 and 1819. So if the relaxation is given to 1718 and 1819, then why not to 1920? You will have to fight for that. First point. Second point, at present, there is no such proper circular issued by the department, issued by the government of India, by CBIC, or maybe the state department. With respect to that, it is applicable, that particular circular is also applicable to the period of 1920 also. Third point is that it was earlier being cleared by the State Department as on 25th of February 2022, where the relaxation has been given for the mismatch of 2A and 3B. But the limit was that you should have your kind of certificate that and ledger confirmation from the your vendors that the particular limit which has been restricted to 2.5 lakhs. On that basis, CBIC has amended and make that particular limit to 5 lakhs rupees. So if it is available for 1718, 1819, it should be available for 1920, because the problem is same. But right now there is no separate circular from the department, so you'll have to wait for this.
Okay, so that means when an individual assessment is going on for a form, And if his assessment is on a finalization stage, then he has to pay the dues of 1920 in that case.
Don't pay any dues. Don't pay any dues. Go to appeal. Wait for any other circulars. Don't pay anything. If your order has been made through through DRC 07, go to appeal by making the payment of that 10% and wait for, or you can get the time for some time. Provided you should keep your documents ready, like ledger confirmations, other verifications details, your 2A 3B match kind of registered. You should keep that one and go to the appeal. If it is till time, if we are getting any circular from the department, it may be possible that it may be right, because what happened, if the point of litigations may be arose to all over India in a great extent, definitely the proper circular may arise or may be given by the state or maybe the central in proper time. We'll have to wait for that.
Or each state will announce for it separately, or central government will announce for entire India for all.
You cannot say about it. If central government is announcing, it would be applicable to whole state, because state is following to the central. If the state is announcing, then it is not applicable to the central. State has its own policy. You cannot say to the central that as state is having this particular circular, the central should also adopt it. So you will have to wait for that and go to the higher forum, and it may possible that in some time it may be arise. But don't pay anything. It's my advice to you. Don't pay. Go to the appellate forum.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Then there is a provision for the B2B. What we have mentioned in the B2B, there is a amendment provisions. So amendment should be mentioned here, maybe with respect to that value, maybe date, maybe that particular GST and maybe invoice number, whatever may be, the amendment should be particularly mentioned here, and accordingly it should be given. Just a moment. Yes. After the procedures of the amendment is having a separate part in R1. Then B2C supply is there. You'll have to mention the rate-wise supply. If it is OE, and in the place of supply, if you are selecting this, then rate should be given properly, and give the details of the B2C in consolidated forms, other than e-commerce operator, that is OE. CDNR, credit note, details of the credit note should be mentioned. If I am raising any credit note, the concept of credit note and debit note is very simple. If I am a supplier and I am making the sale and I am raising a debit note against that particular sale, then I will have to add that particular part in my liability. If I am making a credit note with respect to the particular sale, then I will have to reduce that particular part from my sales side. In case of recipient form, if I am a buyer and I am getting the credit note from that buyer, that means debit note had been issued by that particular person. So tax has been paid by that particular person, and I will get the credit of that. So I will get that particular credit note in my hand and put in that particular credit note with respect to not in R1, but it should be taken in 3B with respect to the input tax credit. So debit note and credit note, debit is increased only when it is related to the sale. Credit is basically, if it is related to sale, it is going to decrease your liability, and vice versa in case of recipient of the goods is to be concerned. So it should be properly mentioned whether it is debit note or credit note, or maybe with respect to the amendments, debit note, credit note. Yes, these are the columns. You will have to mention proper export details, export type, where there is a need to mention the port code. This is important, port code. From which port you have made the export, invoice number, details, value, shipping bill numbers, port code, shipping bill details, shipping bill date, rate, and taxable value should be mentioned. This is without the payment of GST. This is with the payment of GST. So export can be made by filing the LUT, letter of undertaking. You'll have to apply for LUT every year if you are going to make the export of the goods. and accordingly you will you can proceed with your export. So in LUT, you can straight away raise your invoice of export without the payment of GST or with the payment of GST. After making the payment of GST, you can claim the refund as well in case of export, but you will have to file the refund application separately for export of the goods. There are supply with respect to nil rated, exempted, non-GST supply are also mentioned. Be mentioned, but it should be related to interstate, maybe interstate. It should be seen properly. If it is outside the state of that particular state, it should be mentioned whether it is nil rated, whether it is exempted, whether it is non-GST supply like alcoholic part or maybe petrol and diesel. Then it should be coming under the non-GST. Like nil rated, if I'm making the supply of the land, it can become under the exempted part. It can become under the nil rated. But what happened? The land for me is not a supply basically because it is an immovable property. So it is not coming under the definition of goods. We have seen the definition of goods. It says that every kind of movable property other than the immovable property, that is land. So it is kind of non-GST supply. It is not coming under the definition of goods. You can put in under the non-GST, maybe put in nil rated. Nothing has been specified where it should be put. But if I am taking about the course of the exempted supply with related to the special economic zone, with related to the export of the goods, maybe with related to that particular immovable property, it can be mentioned here, no problem. Nil rated are those rated supply which are at nil rate of that particular HSN code, nil rate of that particular commodity can be mentioned here. Or nil rated supply with respect to services is to be here, then that particular, as per particular notification, if that particular service is exempt under the provisions of the law, accordingly it should be mentioned in the nil rated supply. Then HSN code is important for everyone. If your turnover is more than 5 crores, HSN codes are required. If your turnover is less than 5 crores, HSN code is required. Maybe 6 digit, maybe 8 digit, you can mention that HSN codes. Question arises that if I am a person having a turnover of 1 crore, how can I get the HSN code? If it is not available, what I can do? It is better to put in 1 to 2 HSN code and file the returns, just it. Because what happened, it may possible that the total value of the HSN may not be same as the value which is mentioned in B2B and B2C after making the reduction of the credit note and debit note. So for filing purpose, you can mention 1 to 2 HSN and file the return, because what happened, requirement of compliance is increasing day by day. But if the person is having a more than 5 crores turnover, it is better to have to file the proper return of the GST, because what happened, there may be suppose staff is there, accounting person is there, so there may be the kind of facility. For 1 crore person, you can say that I don't have a kind of facility. You can argue your point. So why it is not available? Putting one HSN can also suffice, provided you should have the details of the invoice and all these in R1 properly, and you can put your point correctly. Because what happened, not having a HSN cannot restrict you to file the returns. So you have to take a call and accordingly file the returns. As per my opinion is to be concerned. Then after putting all the information in the GSTR1, you can generate the summary, putting that particular part to generate the summary like this. This is the portal online. You can see that one. These are the tables for GST returns. Table number 4, 4A, 4B, 6B, 6C, B2B supply, special economic zone supply. The invoice detail is mentioned. B2C, where the large invoices is there. B2C large, more than 2.5 lakhs. Invoices should be mentioned. Export invoice. What we have seen, the details of the export are coming here. With respect to the shipping bill, port details, date of invoice, everything should be mentioned properly. B2C, this is small. Other than this is B2C more than 2.5. This is B2C less than 2.5. It should be corrected properly in consolidated form. Then 8A, nil rated supply, exempt supply, here mentioned here. 9B, credit note, debit note for the B2B supply. Credit note, debit note for registered person, not for unregistered. This is for B2B. whatever the debit note or credit note related to the sale is required to be mentioned here. If it is related to the purchase, don't mention here. It should be go to your 3B. While taking the input tax credit, it should be reduced properly. Or if it is a sale return, then you have to mention here that by way of your credit note. If it is again a form of debit note where the sale has been increased or enhanced, then put in here debit note. Credit note or debit note in case of unregistered person. Advance received in case of services, we'll have to raise the advance bill and put in the information with the GSTN accordingly with the rate of tax and put the information properly. Then adjustment for the advances, HSN summary should also be mentioned. As I have already mentioned that HSN summary, if it is available in full, that is very good. If it is not available in full, you can put in with the part information and file the return. Don't keep your returns, because what happened if your return is not filed in R1, after 1 month your 3B is also cannot be filed. Therefore, don't restrict your return because of this putting kind of information, because there may be the kind of other levy of the GST, like interest, like late fees, other penalties. So it may trigger, it may invoke. Even though having a sufficient kind of credit with me, I'm not able to file the returns, the unnecessarily interest and penalty and late fees may be invoked. So you should be very careful about it. File the returns. Don't keep it for the sake of information of HSN. Download Excel, you can see your information, generate the summary. After generation of summary, your file is ready to file. Ready to file here. Like this. Here, proceed to file. After generation of summary, proceed to file. You can file with your EVC or maybe a digital signatures. You can see your consolidated information, what you have put in. Whether my information which is put in R1 in consolidated form is available here, whether it is correct or not, just check its number of records for the invoice. If it is 1, 10, 100,000, as the case may be, it can be checked from your own records, from your Excel value or your summary. So it should be checked properly in particular table 4A, 4B, then B2B, B2C, then interstate supply, export information, the sales unit supply, all information is available. You should first check it, and accordingly you can proceed with the filing. Then file the statement. After filing, it can be available through DSC, maybe available through the electronic verification code, which is available from your email ID or maybe available from your that valid mobile number, which has been given at the time of registration. It can be filed. Verification process, you will have to tick this and file with. File with DSC, file with EVC. I have mentioned some information with the e-invoicing. What happened? Manual invoice is, everybody know that the manual invoice is required, but e-invoicing is also required for the person whose turnover exceeding rupees 10 crores. Initially, the limit was 500 crore, then 100 crore, then 50 crore, then it is reduced to 20 crores, and now it is 10 crores, and it is proposed to have a 5 crores, but the proper notification has not been given in any of the council, and as per the central government circular, it is not available. So now the e-invoicing is available for the 10 crores limit. What happened in case of invoicing? Whatever the invoice is generated from your portal or through the invoice portal, it is automatically available in your GSTR1 in the system. This is very good part. You don't have to put in information manually. It is auto-populated through your invoicing part in the R1 stage. So you should check it that whether that particular invoice is coming through B2B, B2C, and check that part, and accordingly you can file your GSTR1 without taking the help of any consultant, without taking the help of any person. You can file, provided you should have proper information in case of e-invoicing. This is very good part in case of e-invoicing. Initially, right now it is available for 10 crores with the effect from 1/10/2022. Notification is also there, 17/2022. After that, no notification is there. It is right now, it is 10 crores only. Invoice furnishing facility is also available in R1. Same. in the same manner,
Hello.
same fashion as it is available in R1. Yes, sir.
Sir, in case of e-invoice, now recently on 9th March, some notification has come that 6 number, this is mandatory. That is our code of 6 number digit HSN code. 6
HSN
digit
code. Yes, yes.
HSN code.
Yes, 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 sir. It was earlier also
that-
mentioned that at least 6-digit HSN code was required for filing the GSTR1. They have compulsory made for the invoicing also. Yes.
That is for earlier it was for manual invoice. No, only
Yes. Right now, 6-digit number is required. Minimum 6 digit.
for either manual or both e-invoice both.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
IFF should be filed within 13th of next month. We have seen that, and all the information which is put in the R1 is same information is required in invoice furnishing facility where quarterly return has been filed by the assessee. You cannot file after 13th of next month. Then we will come to the 3B. Whatever the information is put in the
Excuse me, sir.
GSTR1. Yes.
Excuse
yes,
me,
ma'am.
sir. Sorry to interrupt. Sir, in case of GSTR1, when we are issuing invoice, taxable and tax invoice for B2B, okay. Let us take the example of this Big Bazaar or all this thing. They are giving the tax invoice in which there is taxable item also and exempted item also.
Right.
In that case, how to file this B2B table for B2B, for table 4A, we have to mention only taxable supply. Okay.
What
No
happened? Yes, madam.
Go to
I will
nil
explain
rated.
you.
Yeah.
No, not that part. As per invoice, you will have to prepare your own data. In invoice, there are two parts. One is taxable, one is exempt.
Yes, sir.
Or nil rated. You will have to take both parts in the separate figures, because what happened? Nil rated has to be mentioned in nil rated part. Taxable has to be mentioned in taxable part.
Okay.
Basically, what happened? In such a case, in such a scenario, if it is taxable, the invoice should be with respect to the taxable, even though the rate of GST is different, 12%, 18%, 28%, no problem at all. But for exempted supply, it should be separate invoice should be given, basically.
Yeah,
bill of supply should be given,
yeah,
so that it should be properly given, or you prepare the proper MIS report for the GSTR1. So it should be given properly. But people are, sometimes it may possible that the person who is preparing the particular bill is not having the proper kind of knowledge about this, about
actually,
R1. So
yeah,
it should be mentioned separately.
Actually, I want to in the Tally software. My client is preparing some tax invoice, including that exempted item also and taxable supply also. When they are going to file the returns with the help of software, all the data which they are showing as tax invoice are reflecting in the B2B, including that exempted supply or nil rated supply, both taxable supply.
What is the date of that supply?
Date of, pardon?
What is the date of that supply? Date
January 2023.
You can make the amendment. You can make the amendment in your that particular invoice, correct it by your amendment. Amendment column is there. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right. Can I ask one question about the export invoice?
Yeah, no issue.
Export invoice, that LUT is required to be taken beyond what limit of export value?
No such limit has been mentioned there. You can simply take the LUT.
So that means even for $1 export, I have to take LUT, then only I can show zero taxation.
Yes.
Zero GST.
Yes.
In fact, for a sample to be exported, I really put the value $1 only, just for compliance with all other things and so on and so forth. But that also will require LUT, is it?
Yes. Whatever the kind of supply is supply, whether it is sample sale or maybe the original sale.
Actually, it is free sample.
Everything is supply. No issue.
Actually, it is free sample.
Fee sample is also being taxable under the
And for
provisions.
that also, for claiming exemption or whatever, I must take LUT. Is it?
You will have to take the LUT.
LUT लेने का ही खर्चा ज्यादा होता है.
LUT, and if you need to take the LUT, it will take not more than 10 minutes.
Not more than
10 minutes. Just go to the portal, use your user ID and password, go to the services of the that particular assessee, go that particular applications, and the LUT form will be coming. The LUT form is just of 1.5 page or 1 page, not more than that of it, where you will have to give the details of yourself and your 2 witnesses, nothing else. So within the period of 10 minutes, you can generate your LUT online. You don't have to go to the department.
Oh, I see.
Right, it is faceless.
As you said that confirming, even for pre-sample, the LUT will be required.
Yes, sir. It is better to take it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, LUT is required transaction wise, or it is a common for all transactions?
It is common for all the kind of, whatever the kind of exports, everything. Single LUT can suffice the reason. No problem.
So once we take the LUT, what is its validity?
1 year. Every year you will have to apply for LUT.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So if you need to have LUT from next year, apply it in the month of April in the first week itself.
So LUT is issued as per company registration, or it is issued for product wise different LUTs are there, or for one company one LUT?
One GSTN, it is applicable as per the GSTN only. In GST number is important. I am a GST, PAN based GST number, LUT is applicable for that. Right?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then we'll proceed with the 3B. Very interesting part and very simple part. For filing 3B, not more than 5 minutes are required. I have mentioned some points. What is 3B? It is a summary of all the kind of transactions which are entered, and details of each of the invoice are not entered in 3B. What is 3B is nothing but a consolidation of R1 and 2B basically. So R1 is related to your sale and 2B is related to your purchase. So the combination of the relevant information for the sale and the relevant information of purchase is nothing but a 3B, where the liability, output tax liability with respect to the sales and input tax with respect to the purchase is going to be set off in table number 6, and accordingly, if liability is there, you'll have to pay to the cash ledger or credit ledger as the case may be, and automatically it will offset the liability while putting the information in 3B, and your return will be filed. We'll check it out. There is some late fees if your return is filed late. Right now the late fees is 50 rupees per day, 20 rupees for nil tax liability for nil kind of return filing 3B, or for if it is taxable supply 50 rupees per day. If the turnover is up to 1.5 crores, the maximum late fees has been synchronized. It is rationalized by the department earlier, and now for the small taxpayer, the limit of payment of late fees has been rationalized to less than 1.5 crores, 2,000. For 1.5 crores, 5,000, and more than 5 crores for large taxpayers, it is 10,000. Each for CGST and HGST, half of value is applicable. For nil return, maximum late fee will not exceed, even though it is 20, it should not be exceed for number of days more than 500. Here also number of days, whatever may be the maximum late fees will be up to the limit only. Due date to file the 3B is 20th of the month. In case of quarterly filing, 22nd as per the state, 24 in Maharashtra, 22nd. It is nothing but a summary of sales where the summary of all the information has been given. If it is not available auto-populated, you will have to mention that particular information in the 3B. We'll see that one. Actual 3B. This is 3B. Your GST number, your legal name of the firm. Here you will have to mention the outward taxable supply. There are table number 3 and 5 points. You will have to mention. This is auto-populated from your R1. Outward taxable supply. What is this? B2B supply. What is this? Other than zero rated, nil rated, and exempted. So it is auto-populated from your R1. Zero rated. If it is not mentioned in R1, then put it here. Because what happened? Some people may forgot to put in zero rated or nil rated or maybe exempted part of supply. In that case, it is better to put in through the 3B. Or maybe put in next returns so that that information is available to the returns to the department, and no co-action in further case with the department will be there. In case of other outward supply, in case of inward supply liable for reverse charge. This is very important. So these two columns are very important, and this is non-GST supply, alcoholic product and petroleum product. So this is related to that one. So what is important to us is that 3A and 3D. This is reverse charge related to the recipient of the goods or services. If I am a recipient of certain services on which I am liable to pay the GST on the behalf of the other person, I will have to mention that. For example, GTA services. I am not a GTA person, but I am a recipient of GTA services from the other person. Goods transport agency person, I have taken the transportation services on road from the other person. I will have to mention in that case because it is an expenditure for me. Therefore, it is an inward supply for me. And inward supply with respect to the GTA, with respect to the security services, with respect to the sponsorship services, legal services from the advocates, legal services from the government department, royalty, for which the reverse charge is required to be paid by the registered person. So you'll have to pay through the cash ledger only, and the information should be put in here accordingly. Then next part, the supply which is related to the interstate supply which is made to the unregistered person. You can put in that information. If there is information, put in, otherwise don't put any information with respect to this one, and better to put the information here. This is very important. So basically that first part, this part, and this part, ITC part, this is very important. We can see that one. ITC is available. How it is available? For import of goods, import of services, inward supply for reverse charge. Whatever the inward supply in case of here, inward supply liable for reverse charge under the outward supply is shown, same figure may appear here. Inward supply liable for reverse charge. So whatever the liability shown in outward registered will put in here also. Only that GTA part which is in litigation, basically some people are getting the 5% if they are paying the 5% on GTA goods transport agency, 5% GST, and some people are not taking the credit of this, some people are taking the credit of this, some advance ruling judgments are also there. So that part is litigated part. Otherwise, in normal case, whatever the RCM has been paid shown under the outward supply, the ITC is available under the self invoice, and it can be taken as an input by way of filing under the eligible GST table number 4 here itself. Table number 4, point number 3, inward supply liable to reverse charge other than 1 and 2. Import related to IGST, import services related to IGST, inward RCM, what is shown in the outward supply, inward supply from the input service distributor, and what is the, if it is not coming here, then the normal input which is available to the assessee should come here, ITC, input tax credit. So ITC should be taken. If the input is taken wrongly, which is not available to the assessee, it should be reversed. Like in earlier returns before December, the credit note, debit note with respect to the purchases are automatically reflected in this part. Right now, they are taking here, they are taking the report auto-populated in 2B. Auto-populated reports are there where the figures of the all other ITC is coming from 2B by making the net of that credit note and debit note. So there may be the other reversal may also be there. Some input which has been taken by the assessee, however, it is related to the non-business, it may be related to the personal transactions, it may be reported here and input should be reversed. It may be related to the capital goods, however, the person is having a combination of the taxable supply, exempt supply, both the supply are there. At that point, the reversal should be made. What happened? For making the outward supply, I am discharging my liability. For making the inward supply, whatever the inward supply is there, I am taking the credit. But while making the outward supply, that particular supply is related to the nil rated or exempt. Therefore, proportionate that reversal should be made for that particular nil rated or maybe exempt kind of supply. This is very important rule, proportionate reversal of the input. Otherwise, your tax liability will not be arised anywhere. So reversal should be with respect to the capital goods, maybe proportionate input related to the goods or services should be made through these rules. Or any other, if not related to the eligible supply or ineligible supply and you are taken wrong credit here, then it is better to make the reversal through this part. So net ITC is available to you and ineligible ITC can be reported here. And as per section 17.5, what is ineligible ITC is already being given. So you should not take that input ITC. Section 17.15 has a long list where there are 15 items. I will give some items like outdoor catering, like food related supply, where you are making the expenditure for food of the persons, you are not eligible to take the credit. Health related services, you are not eligible to take the credit. Civil nature of supply, civil construction is there, you are not related to take the credit because you are not in the same nature of supply. For example, another examples are also there where the insurance related activities are there, you are not eligible to take the credit. So there are certain points where 17.5 is a block credit if you are purchasing the passenger vehicle or maybe the two-wheeler, maybe four-wheeler. The use of that four-wheeler and two-wheeler is for your self purpose. In that case, not for loading the any goods or services. In that case, the ITC is not available. In that part, 17.5 is there. Now the proposal of amendment in the budget has been made by the department where 17.5 the limit has been also applicable to the CSR activities to the company. If the company is making CSR activity, the input related to that CSR activity will not be available. It is particularly coming under the part of the 17.5 where the block input tax credit is there. The company is not eligible or the assessee or person who is making the CSR activity is not eligible to take the credit under that part. If the credit is taken, then it should be reversed through the ineligible ITC under the section 17.5 as a block input tax credit. If other input which is wrongly taken by the assessee, it can be also reversed here by way of this. Then there is a part where some exempt nil rated supply is required to related to the inward supply is required to be mentioned here. Then after putting all the information, next part is the payment of liability, tax liability through the sale part. Then the input is available through that input table, that is table number 4. This is from table number 3, table number 4. Then if the tax liability is 100, 100, 100 and input is available here 50, 50, 50, then the balance portion should be made by the payment of tax through the challan, through the cash ledger by the assessee, which is credited to the cash ledger of the assessee, and accordingly it can be available for filing the returns and assessee can file the return. So payment of tax, this column number, this table number 6 is very important. If liabilities arises or not can be seen here. If the sufficient credit is available, no problem at all sufficient credit can be carried forward to the next period, but the credit is not available, then you will have to pay from your own pocket through the generation of challan, and to make sure that that particular challan payment has been done and should be credited to the cash ledger and payment should be made. If your earlier return is filed late, interest is also applicable. If this return is filed late, interest is applicable. If return has been filed earlier periods late, then late fees is applicable as per the provisions of the law, like 50, 20, 2000, whatever may be as per the limit we have discussed earlier. So this is the part where the payment of tax has been done. Then verification, you have to make the verification part. Just whatever the information has been shown by me in 3B is correct, and I will file the return through the DSC or through the EVC. You can file straight away the nil return also. There is no problem at all to file the nil return. Simple procedure, just select the nil, generate the summary, and file the return by way of verifications. So simple process would be there. So when I am making the details for the filing of the returns, I will have to make sure that all the details of 3B should be properly mentioned with respect to the 3B returns, because if I am making the mistake in here in GST R1, the 3B may wrongly be filed. So it is better to file R1 correctly, and accordingly it should be filed. There should not be any mismatch in 3B and R1. If there is mismatch in the liability of 3B and R1, you will get the notice from the department for the mismatch. So make sure that it should not be mismatched.
Can I raise a point about the payment?
Yes, yes.
Said I have paid. I had only one invoice in a month or quarter rather, and invoice of 20,000 rupees. 18%, 3,600. I had paid also 3,600, but while filing the return GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B also, I did not make what I should make. I just don't know or don't understand that the liability is not getting offset. In the sense, liability is actually paid out, but the ledger still carries my cash balance.
This is only because, yes, I got your point. This is only because your previous returns may not be filed properly. You can check out the previous return whether it has been filed. It may not be filed properly, therefore that point has been arise, and 3B and R1 has not been filed in the next time.
No,
you can see
it has been filed.
Has been filed.
R1 and 3B both have been taken on record.
Okay.
I have my ARN number also. Both acknowledgements are there, but the ledger shows 3,600 still carried forward credit.
This is the glitch of the portal. Basically, you can raise the grievance. Yes, it is the glitches of the portal only, nothing else.
That balance is still carried forward. I have not got that thing offset by further liability, which I again kept on paying. But the very first quarter of 23, first quarter, the balance is still carried and it's still available as a credit balance in the cash ledger.
Okay. You can raise the grievance. Otherwise, you can show.
Is there something separate to be done? I just wonder.
Yeah. Yes. It is basically can be seen from the portal itself. If I have a user ID and password, I will have to check it out in proper way. There are other parameters also where the returns cannot be filed. Normally the glitches and the other parameters are related to the previous returns. Only these two kinds of parameters are there. If glitches are there, it is better to file the grievance only. And if you are showing sharing your user ID and password with the expert, then it may possible that some other part may also be there. So you'll have to see that what exactly in the portal. So accordingly, I can advise for that.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir. There's one question from me. So in case of reversal under Rule 42 and 43, how to book that in our accounts, that reversal amount? Whether we have to portion it in the cost of sale or?
No.
Yeah.
Your books of account 42 reversal is due to the whatever the original invoice has been raised. Exactly
Yeah.
opposite has been done. So
Okay.
if you are raised a wrong invoice or maybe debit note, credit note, sales return, purchase return, maybe pricing difference, whatever may be the kind of
No,
thing.
not in the case of a credit note or debit note. So I'm asking regarding
Okay,
reversal of
ineligible.
ITC. Reversal of
Okay,
ITC.
excess ITC has been given. So whatever the entry has been passed for the normal input tax credit, just reverse it. Nothing else.
Sir, in case of rule 42 and 43, means for exempted and taxable item, just in 3B you have said na ki rule 42,
Yes.
43 reversal is there. So
Yes,
how
yes.
to book that?
What happened in case of
Yes.
reversal, if it is related to the proportionate reversal with respect to the
Yeah.
exempt supply,
Yes.
is it right?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it related to the exempt supply? And
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, sir.
For passing the entry, you will have to, if the credit is excess, you will have
Yeah.
to debit that part.
Yeah.
If my IGST, CGST is excess, I will have to debit the IGST, CGST, and HGST.
Okay.
Where to credit?
Where to
That
credit?
point. That
Yeah.
point is where you have debited. You will have to credit if your firm is, if your company is a private limited. It is better to credit to the reserves and surplus, or maybe the other accounting principle you will have to see. In case of
Okay.
individual case, you can straight away credit to the capital accounts, because it doesn't have any impact. It is a control account basically. It does not have any impact on your profit. It is a control
Okay.
account. Input output is a control account. It doesn't
Okay.
have any impact on my profitability. Therefore, it can be booked through my reserves. It can be booked through my capital. So you'll have to mention that one. It was originally being taken as a credit excess through the filing of the returns, and now we are reversing here by way of this 3B. You can mention the narration accordingly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay, then we'll take just 2 minutes only, because I have exceeded the time. I have not seen the time basically, and just take the 2 minutes, and we will just take any questions related to this, because it is just on closing part. This is 3B basically. We can see 3.1 related to outward supply, here interstate supply from one state to another state, eligible credit. So this part is very important. Table number 3 and 4 is very important. These two should be disclosed in your 3B. Nil rated may be possible that you have not taken whole the year. It can be mentioned in the month of March, maybe before the September, or maybe 30th of November if it is you are in monthly filing, or maybe in the month of September returns because you are in the quarterly filing. So this two part is very important. I will mention you. Then the payment of tax is very important. If the excess liability is there, it should be offset from here. But if there are certain glitches in the portal, it may take some time. It is better to raise the grievance. But normally, in normal 99.99% cases, the part of this can be settled through the ITC and through the outward supply by way of the adjustment made in the payment of tax while opening that particular portal. This is your detailed portion of 3B. This is also with related to the particular figures from the 3B. Now, after making all the details, I'm going to file the details. This is very important. This part. This is my payable part, outward supply. See, this input should properly be taken. If I have a IGST, it should be 0 first. The CGST and HGST can be carried forward, no problem at all. But IGST, if its excess is there and there is a payment of liability, it should be make sure that it should be 0, and then take the credit from CGST and HGST. If excess is required, then pay from the cash ledger. This is very important. It may possible that glitch may be due to this part also. Sir has raised the question that his return is not filing. The part of this filing may be there. Payment of this kind of tax should be proper. It should be 0 like this. It should be put in through the manual figures, and accordingly it may be auto populated, but it can be put in through the manual figures. And after saving, putting the submit button, the GSTR 3B will be saved. After putting the submissions, the details is submitted, you cannot change at all. Even though there is a deviation, you cannot change. Once submitted, it is submitted. But only the putting of submitted button does not make or ensure that you have paid the liability. Liability is paid when the particular part is offset through the 3B. So offset part is very important. After offset, making the verification and through the DSC and EVC, and your return will be filed. So ARN will be generated. So you can keep that part in your record. GSTR 9 is nothing but a consolidation of 3B and R1, nothing else. In single word, consolidation of 3B and R1, and as per your books of account, if your sale is more, pay the liability through DRC03. If there is a difference in purchase, pay the liability through DRC03. It is nothing but a consolidation of your balance sheet, consolidation of your books of accounts, with making the comparison with your 3B and R1. After making the comparison, if your liabilities arise, then file your 9 and make your payment through DRC03. Nothing else. 9 can be filed to the portal. Here annual return is there, selection of annual return for the particular period, annual return in the portal. Put in that information of annual return. There are two parts, annual return and reconciliation statement. This is applicable for turnover more than 5 crores. This is applicable for the turnover less than 5 crores or exceeding rupees 2 crores. Compulsory. You'll have to choose the option. And if your information is correct or compiled properly, you can submit the information and file your returns by way of verification. Yes, this is all about the information with respect to the GSTR 1, 3B and GST registration. Any queries with respect to this part, you can raise one. Thank you so much for having a patient hearing to all of you. You can raise any query. Ashish sir.
Hello. Hello.
Sir, I have a question not related to this part, but a general question. Sir, my son has a sports shop. While we are making purchase, most of the invoices are GST, GST is levied on them. But there are some sundry purchases where the invoices, they are small, this thing, traders or this thing, they don't give GST bill or invoice. So in that case, where the purchase amount is also very small. So in that case, should we ask for the PAN number or anything or Aadhaar card?
There is no such provision for PAN number or this part, because what happen if you are having a purchase from the unregistered person, the unregistered person is not eligible to charge the GST. You are not making any payment of GST to him. There is no such impact on this. There is no problem at all. Just put in your record properly. Nothing else.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
I have the query. Hello.
Yes.
Continue. It's regarding the registration.
Okay.
What I want to ask is just like in case of income tax, PAN number is different and PAN number, tax deduction account number is different.
Right.
It is the same in case of GST, like for TDS and TCS, they got a different GST number.
Yes, absolutely. What happened in case of government services, in case of PSU sector, there is a need to take the TAN number separately. They are TAN based registered under GSTR 7. TAN based registration is different from the PAN based registration. Under PAN based registration, what happened? I am a regular supplier of the particular things. So I will have to make sure that I will have to apply for the registration if my turnover exceeding that particular limit. In case of TAN based registration, process is different. Where you will have to deduct the TDS only. In case of PWD department, they are TAN based, they are having a TAN based registration.
And what about the TCS?
Same thing.
Different. And suppose a person is like a ISD also and a supplier also. So he has to take a 2 registration number.
Yes, yes, yes.
As a ISD separate and as a regular supplier is a separate.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Okay.
It is
Thank
better
you.
to do.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, yes,
Sir,
yes.
in case when our vendor has not covered the bill in GSTR1, so we will not be able to take it into our return, no GSTR3B.
Yes, yes. It is not available to 2B, therefore we cannot take the credit of this.
Sir, so then what is the solution? Because if till the end of the final return in the next year till September, if such things has not happened and vendor has not done, then how to sort out these issues? Because there are multiple vendor in case of large organizations, it happens. It is a case.
It is better to take the follow-up of the persons. If he is not taking our credit till the time of 30th September, then the credit is not available as per law. So till the time of 30th September, we should have to make
Sir,
sure that
after filing the yearly return, GSTR
no
9,
problem. No problem. It would
can
be available
we
in
take
2B.
the credit? Can
Yes,
we
yes,
take the
yes.
credit
Yes, yes, yes. It would be
of the
available in
earlier
2B.
year?
Yes, yes,
Huh?
yes. But during the threshold time period only, you can take the credit.
I am talking final return is filed GSTR 9.
After making the final returns, you are supposed to file your all returns. GSTR 9 filing date is, due date is the 31st of December. And
Yeah,
your
after
last
that,
checking. Yes, yes.
after that, can we take the credit that whatever the ITC credit of the
GSTR 9 is not a parameter to take the credit. Credit can be taken through the 3B only. GSTR 9 is only the forms available for the consolidation where you are reflecting your correct information. If I am having a excess liability towards the sales, I will have to make sure that to put it correctly in 9, and that part should be paid through DRC 03. If my credit has been lapsed and it has been lapsed after the period of threshold limit, that is 30th of November or maybe that 30th of September return, it would be lapsed. It will not be available till the further that amendments required in the provisions of the law. Till time the credit is not available. You will have to fight for
that we have to assume as a loss.
You will have to file to the upper forum. It may possible that various high court has given the decision. Just we will have to wait for the Supreme Court decisions, because what happened if I am purchasing the goods from some other person, it's not my responsibility to take the information from the person or to say the other person to pay the liability to the government treasury. It's a responsibility of the government machineries to say that the tax should be deposited by that particular person to the government treasury. So the issues are there, and there are certain decisions from the high courts. The case is not finalized. If the case has been decided by the high courts, the department is there to pursue that case and to file the appeal against that particular court. If the decision has been in favor of the assessee, department will go to the upper forum. If the decision is in favor of department, assessee will go to the upper forum. Nothing else. We'll have to fight for it. 16.4. Dangerous.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
Sir, under this service tax regime, professional fees were chargeable only on receipt basis, but that facility is now no longer available. But then still the bill payment receipt actually takes more than 1 month in a very liberal fashion, I can say. So to tide over that, because the moment I make the bill, I have to account for it in GSTR1 and pay the tax also immediately. To avoid that, because my receipt is not come and not likely to come for at least 1 or 2 months more, in that case, can I keep that bill as it is, but not account for it in the GSTR1, and then account for it only when it is actually received from the party? Can that be unofficially, although but can that be dodged in that fashion?
I will not give the opinion on this, because what happened, there is a provision of time and value of supply under section 15, 16, 17. It says that the supply should be chargeable to tax on accrual basis, on the basis of that receipt, or maybe the invoice date, or maybe the when it is recorded in your books of accounts, whatever is coming earlier, accordingly your supply is chargeable. If I am raising my invoice today and I am getting the receipt after 2 months, I will have to show that part in R1 today itself. What happened if I am showing today in R1, I am getting the period to pay the GST till the time of 28th or 22 of that particular month. If I am taking the example of February, in February 5, I have raised the professional invoice. So when I will have to file that R1, I will have to file the R1 in the month of March till the time of 13 or till the time of 11. I have shown that particular part in R1. Now my liabilities arise to file my 3B. I am getting the time till the time of 20th of that particular month or 22. That means I have a sufficient time from 5th of that particular month till the 20 or 22 of next month. That means I am getting 25 days and another 20 days. Almost 45 days are available to me. So it is better to get the receipt from that person to whom I have raised the invoice, to take that part earlier so that we can disclose it in our 3B. Second part, that if the person is not showing in R1 or 3B, it is better to hold the GST part, or at least to say him, that particular person, that at least to pay me the GST part so that I can pay that GST on your behalf. It would be disclosed in your 2B report. It will be disclosed in my R1 report, and you can take credit smoothly in your 3B. So it is better to take the at least the part of the GST from the person for whom we are showing the credit. This is my advice, sir.
Any other question?
Thank you.
It is already 7:10. Okay. I would like to thank CMA Anil Verma sir for his excellent presentation and explaining various provisions related to registration and return filing under the GST Act. I also would like to thank WR6 staff for their support and all the participants for attending the session. Our tomorrow's session is on income tax. The 10th session will be there tomorrow on the series of income tax. The topic will be taxation on virtual digital assets, and speaker will be CMA Toksi sir. The timing of tomorrow's session is from 5 p.m. onwards. So I will request you to attend that session also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.